5, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. This is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining the annual notice of regular meetings on the bulletin board of the municipal building, by mailing the annual notice of regular meetings for 2025 to the News Record and the Star Ledger in December 2024, and by filing said notice in the office of the Township Clerk.
Mr. Daffis.
Present.
Mr. DeLuca.
Here.
Dangle.
Here.
Herman. Mayor Adams.
Here.
Whereas Chapter 231, Public Laws 1975, commonly known as the Open Public Meetings Act, requires all meetings of public bodies be open to the public. And whereas Section 7A provides that the governing body has the discretion to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation of the public at any meeting. And whereas desire the governing body to comply with the provision of this act, same time it conducts its business in an orderly and expeditious manner. Now therefore be resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Maplewood, does hereby prohibit, except as set forth in the formal agenda, active participation in the deliberations of the governing body by the public, and except as otherwise prescribed by law, does limit the public to the observations of the actions and discussions of the governing body at all of its regular and special meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Daffis.
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca.
Yes.
Sangle.
Yes.
Ms. Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Adams.
Yes. Thank you. Welcome to the Thursday, January 30th, 2025 budget hearing. Please rise for a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Tonight is our first budget hearing for the 2025 budget. Our next one will be Monday evening, same time at 6 o'clock. Tonight, we will be going over the departments for their budgets, individual budgets. We go through them, and the department head is here to explain their asks for this year's budget. Tonight, we start with community services, and then we move to the municipal pool, both of which are Melissa Mancuso is our director. Then we move to public works and engineering, both of whom are Paul Kittner. Then we move to community development with Annette DePalma, township clerk Elizabeth Fritzen, and Patrick Weary for administration. Then we will open the floor to public comment, and then we will adjourn. So let's get started. Welcome, Ms. Mancuso. Mr. Weary, did you want to speak about it?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, just to talk about the process that we'll be going through for these budget workshops and ultimately adoption. So we have tonight's meeting, like you said, on Monday. We'll have another workshop where we will have the police department, health department, library, finance present, along with Springfield Avenue Partnership, Maplewood Village Alliance, the Community Coalition on Race, YouthNet, and the Municipal Court. And then on February 25th, we will discuss new employee requests, revenue, capital recommendations, budget recommendations, open space, and stormwater. And then we anticipate that the introduction of the budget will be on April 1st, and the adoption of the budget will be on May 6th.
Okay,
All right.
great. So why don't we kick it off with community services? Ms. Mancuso, go ahead.
Oh, so the pool and community service.
Is your mic on? Is it?
It was on, but you just have to get closer to it.
Oh, there you go. I can't see the light from my angle.
Oh. It feels bad. So the department mission statement is to provide entertaining, safe, and varied recreational programs and services to the township's diverse population in a cost-effective and progressive manner. And we're flexible, always changing based on feedback we receive. We constantly strive to review, improve, and expand our programs to keep pace with the changes and needs of the entire community. We stand by our motto, all for fun and fun for all, and our focus is programming that's affordable and accessible for everyone. So to highlight the department staffing, we have a very robust staff, especially in the summertime, but year-round. So the department is administered by the Director of Community Services, myself. We have full-time staff, including a senior program supervisor, manager of recreation, 2 program supervisors of recreation, art manager, pool foreman. And then we have part-timers throughout the year, which we're very proud to work with, program instructors, coaches, fitness instructors, art instructors, building attendants, site supervisors. We have 1 to 2 jitney drivers too on our side. Seasonal staff includes lifeguards, front desk staff, patio staff, kids camp directors, assistant directors, counselors, and the same at really all of our camps. Tennis director, tennis instructors, basketball director, basketball staff, which we've added a lot of basketball you'll hear about, and just program facilitators. So we have a very large team.
Mhm.
Our facilities are our rec office over in Town Hall across from the clerks, the Maplewood Community Center, the Maplewood Community Pool, and the Maplewood Senior Center. And the parks and fields under our purview, Gordon Park, the Hart Park, Maple Crest Memorial, Orchard Park, Walter Park. So for 2024, we continued the tradition of adding on, getting new ideas, listening to residents and seeing what they're looking to have and trying to implement their needs. So in the recreation division, some accomplishments were, we had a goal of working with some community partners, which puppy yoga, we had our first puppy yoga in 2024. And that was working with, in partnership with a charity, which, programming registrations went towards them and they're without their, not at yoga, so you don't have to feel stressed, you're gonna we worked with the Memorial Park Conservancy, which was a little scary for me. I'm scared of birds of prey, but we went to the woodlands and had like a child programming. So that was fun to work with the Conservancy, and we'll work with them a lot more as we plan stuff in Memorial Park. Keeping everybody on the same page. And then working with Eagle Scouts is another example to maximize community benefit. It's great for the scouts, learning experience and working together on some of those projects. Great for the town. They're all things that we need.
Mhm.
So this year we also, and this was the administrators, hosted our first official Bring Your Kid to Work Day. So that was a significant fun day. We increased pickleball programming to meet the demand, which never have enough pickleball. We met the goal of engaging some new age groups. We were interested in getting middle schoolers involved. We offered the safe care babysitting for them. And we're also had a goal of doing some more like mental health free classes, free dance, free meditations. And then we also have some series that are, registration based, but we have some orientation and workshops that are at no cost. So some of our free community events in 2024 will tweak a little, to not for everybody. But the end of winter event where we had ice skating, bonfire, s'mores. This year was our first year with the sensory room, which we
Mhm.
grateful for the sensory room this year. Face painting, crafts, and that was in the winter time. We had a family movie day at the Woodlands. More movies in the park over the summer in July, August, September. We went to various parks. The 4th of July, we tried to add on some things for all ages. We had 2 movies at the pool. We met the Olympian Jackie Dubovich. National Coming Out Day, which of course is in October. The Adelante Art Show and opening celebration was in November at the 1978. We had a free gratitude meditation for all, which we hosted at the Bergdorf. And then, of course, the holiday tree lighting, which I think everybody was at the gazebo. Another accomplishment is our adding on to our basketball programming. So that's been expanded greatly. So now we have spring, fall, and basketball programming. And this year in 2025 is our first summer having our own basketball camp. So we're not outsourcing to a vendor. We have a program supervisor whose passion is basketball. So it's best for his career and follow what he loves. And now we're playing basketball all the time. So that is called the Summer Slam Camp, and we're excited about that. We have rec softball with last season 353 players, 54 coaches, some winter trainings off season. And then this coming year, we're hosting the parade. I call it the softball parade, softball/little league.
Mhm.
And as far as camps go in 2024, we really expanded our reach with adding more of the maple craft sessions. We had ultimate frisbee, the tennis camp, our traditional kids camp, drill skills and thrills basketball camp, which is what it's changing this year. And then we offered Lego and STEM camps, mermaid camp, dive camp, and we had 2 creative learning camps. So we had a little bit over 1,500 campers. As far as our goals in 2025 in the recreation division, we want to add some cooking and nutrition for all ages. So it was new for seniors this year. Now we're looking to do teen classes and adult classes. We created meditation and mental health wellness series for all ages, and that's expanded to new age groups. So the one we're having now, I think the average age is 46. So we were kind of focusing on very little kids, and the seniors, there was all these people in between. So we're trying to engage that. And so far that seems to be effective. And we're always expanding and evaluating our programming. This year, another goal that we're going to meet is we are having the spring egg hunt and the parade. And we're also working on a loaned bicycle. So that will be with the health department, and police, have an event, a lot of events to it, including, it looks like we're going to be able to teach how to learn how to bike. So
We're doing that?
it sounds like we're doing.
Sounds like from,
This is the latest grade.
I-
So
I missed that last part. I'm sorry. What are we doing?
doing learning how to ride bicycles aside from like the rodeo, the bike rodeo, and then the health department is going to have some health offerings at the health fair. So we're either going to announce it then or working towards it, a different community partner.
Thank you.
Yes. In the senior division, some accomplishments are the fitness classes have expanded. We have eliminated some attendance, room for new offerings. And we had 848 participants like in and out of all of the classes. We had 22 senior socials and parties, somehow a whopping 17 senior trips. So there was a lot of people on the go. And new trips were Sleepy Hollow, day trip, Esther, sculpture, and the seniors really want to go shopping at Willow Mall, so they did. Every time they shopped. Senior art classes have expanded. So we've had acrylics for a while. We've added to that. We have a watercolor instructor who's amazing, and some ink drawing. We had a mixed media crafts class, and the Adelante Art Show, which is our senior acrylic classes, works at the 1978. We added pen and ink. We had poetry and petite fours. And jewelry making classes are new to us. And we expanded the pickleball for all ages, including the senior part. Some goals for 2025. I feel like we say a lot, but we're still holding on some sort of a book club. We're always talking to the seniors, and our underlying goal is to fight isolation, of our seniors. We look forward to hanging senior art in the senior center and having kind of with the various classes because they're coming out with so much beautiful art. It can decorate our walls. And we have goals to have more intergenerational activities, maybe a hike on weekends. We have We're looking at fitness classes with participants of all ages, including Dance Happy and some of the meditation. I could go right into the.
Can I ask a quick question, or not a question, but I like how you often put like numbers of the amounts of participants, but for the free community programming, we don't have that data. So, I mean, I don't want you to go back and do it this year, but in future, it'd be nice to be able to know how many participants are actually attending those events as well. Just to see the impact and return on investment.
But free programming doesn't, do they have to sign up for it or no?
No.
Yeah, that's why it's hard to get numbers. Because anybody can just come, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so it'd be estimated.
But I mean,
Crowd estimates?
yeah,
That's what I mean.
estimates
Crowd
or-
estimates or cell phone data if we want to invest.
So are we asking questions?
Sure.
So, I know you have a lot of lines here that say additional programs, additional lists, league fees and things like that. It totals about 80,000. But your overall budget request is going up, about $240,000. Why?
It's based on the increase of programming, and I think it's going to match increase in revenues for the new offerings. So most of it, a lot of it is the basketball. So we're doing fall, we're doing a spring league now for the first time, and adding the Maple Craft Camp, which was 3 weeks, is now going. And we are adding additional ultimate, the tennis, the pickleball is going, there's an uptick in that also.
And we have a vacancy, you say, in the art manager. Are we hiring another art manager? And we're doing that. We didn't have art this year, right?
We did, we were just running it, like all the senior art and art camp, the craft camp.
Right, but the manager doesn't work with the seniors, right?
She did, she was
She
doing,
did.
Both, right?
Do you ever, I guess, I'm just looking at, since 2022, when the budget was, what we appropriated is 1.2 million, and now you're asking for 1.7, so that's a 41% increase. Do you ever look at programs and say, these are good programs, but maybe we should roll them off and bring on new things? Because I'm a little concerned, we got problems with taxes, and I'm a little concerned that we keep adding things and we're not looking and deciding whether we should, instead of add, maybe replace, drop something, or do something differently. Like the art, we have art schools and businesses in town that, to me, I would rather see us work with them than create a new program ourselves like we had before, because I think it was competing with them. So I just would like us to think differently about how we're doing some of this stuff.
I agree with Vic. I mean, we've talked in committee also last year about getting the numbers of some of the events, just so we can see how many people are participating in things and getting, profit and loss over events. And I know not everything, some things are free, so not everything is going to make up the expense, but I think it's important to look at how each program is doing, just moving forward, so that we know, because maybe we do so many things. And I know the seniors do so many things, and we talk about doing more things. I know that we don't have that many staff, and it's just a lot of moving parts. And so I just feel like sometimes it's about quality versus quantity, and reaching the most amount of people, I think, is important. And we keep hearing, for middle schoolers, for example, that there isn't that many things for them to do. I know we've talked about some of the trips like the seniors have done and everything like that, but it always just feels like I don't know. I agree. I guess that's what I'm saying. Just to, just look at them a little bit.
Just, if I could ask Mr. Weary, you're going to go through this and make recommendations on each of these, correct?
Yes, yes.
So we're just seeing things, sort of raw numbers right now, right?
We've gone through with all the department heads to work out what we think at least is realistic in terms of numbers or what we understand the township committee would not want to consider. And so what's left here requires more refinement, absolutely, but we have gone through it once or twice with the department heads and with the CFO. I'd also recommend that when we talk about revenues, because with Ms. Mancuso's programs, a lot of those expenses are tied with revenues. And so when we discuss revenues, we'll be prepared to talk about how they offset expenses of programs, because that might be helpful to consider.
And not all of these, Ms. Mancuso, are your desired new programs, like teaching people to ride bicycles did not come from you, and other ones don't come from you. So I think you need to not be afraid to tell township committee members or residents that, like, no, we can't add that program because we're not replacing one that we already know is popular and successful and with something that is brand new. We can't have it both ways. We can't say, do this, do this, do this, and then say, don't add new unless you're taking another one away. So I think don't be afraid to
I
say.
just want to push back on that riding bicycle one for a minute, because like that comes from a public safety perspective, and we've been talking about how to make it
Let's have the
safer to
police
ride.
department do it. I'm just saying, you, on one hand, we can't say, don't add new programs and then be asking for new programs.
No, I think what Mr. DeLuca was saying was, have we evaluated current programs to see what's
No, I heard what he was
successful?
saying, but I also
Right.
heard what you said, and I also know that new requests are coming to this department. And it's difficult for an employee to say no to elected officials sometimes. So I'm just saying, if you want to evaluate all the existing and then evaluate what comes in new, because I say the same thing in my day job, like the board will say, we want to do this. I'm like, okay, what do you want to replace this with? You know, like, because of that reason, for staffing and for bandwidth, for money.
So I think with regard, I'll just speak to the bike program. I believe this is just something she's looking into, that that would be partnered with another organization and not something that we would be doing from scratch. So it's not a hard lift and it's not like expense. It would be, so it's something that I believe she's just looking at. But I applaud looking at different things that come
Yeah,
up and
yeah.
different options, especially when we see our community really getting involved in these areas like biking. I just wanted to say, I had two quick things I wanted to say. I love that you're engaging new age groups and that you want to do more on accessibility. It sort of ties in a little bit with what Ms. DeLuca said, is I wanted to make sure that we focus on getting more attendance at some of our events. Like, for example, the National Coming Out Day and then our event with the Olympian. I felt like both of those could have had like more people. And so I don't know if they would have benefited from more advanced planning, more publicity. Now that we have a PIO, hopefully we can get that more publicity and really get more people to come, or maybe look at the time that it's offered, because I recall, I think they were both
It's like 3 o'clock,
The
but
time is something we
One of them
keep
was,
bringing
like,
up, because
Friday
school
and
doesn't get out
Saturday.
until,
Yeah.
Tuscan doesn't get out until 3:50. The last Maplewood schools get out at 3:50, and everything
Yeah,
starts
so-
at 3 o'clock. So you're missing MMS, Tuscan, Seth Boyden.
So the National Coming Out Day, I thought, yeah, it could have, you
I
know,
don't think our department, that was a resident who organized that.
We work on that, and
Yeah.
2 years in a row, I've mentioned could we start later so that the
Yeah.
the kids could actually attend? Because even middle school students are technically supposed to be there till 3:15. So when an event starts at 3, and they're not really going to get there till like 3:30, and it only goes to like 4:30.
And then the other thing I wanted to say was, I love that you want to do more intergenerational programming. And I think that actually could work really hand in hand with what Miss Engel and I have been talking about, trying to get more teen, more middle school and high school programming, because I'm seeing like the seniors got to go to Willowbrook Mall. I mean, I think teenagers would love to go to Willowbrook Mall. And how wonderful would it be to have our seniors and some teens on the bus together?
It sounds like a disaster.
I think it would be, if we're trying to get intergenerational people together, like jewelry making class, like that's something I feel like, pretty much everything you have for these seniors. I mean, these are amazing programs. They're very lucky.
Sounds like you want to do some of these classes yourself.
Maybe I do.
Maybe you could be the intergenerational person. You're not a senior yet. But yeah, I mean, something, just some thoughts to think about, Melissa.
Yes. Just like 210 line accessibility, that just gets moved over to the pool side. So
Wait.
it's just like a trans.
Towards the bottom of that line where it says
Right.
pool accessibility, it's
We don't have numbers on the.
Yeah, there's no numbers.
so you could make it a little bigger, but it's the $25,000 line. That's the municipal contribution to reduce pool user fees.
While we're talking about lines, 101, 370, 101, which is administration staff. Last year, we appropriated 405,000. This year, we're talking about appropriating 556,000. That's $150,000 more. I don't see how
Many
that
staff people
happens.
is that?
So if that's another one that I'm flagging for you to come back and
Yeah,
explain
and
to us.
I've flagged it already and
Okay.
we'll go through.
And
Is that the additional staff for the?
I have
pool?
no idea. Well, why don't we get the answers?
Yeah.
Let's not
I'll
guess.
just say that for any of the salary and wage lines, if they're new employees at the late February meeting, we'll discuss new employee requests. If it's a result of merit increases at that meeting, we'll discuss merit increases. And so that's
It's a lot of merit.
some of why salary and wages isn't a final number. There's still some consideration to be given for salary and wages, not just in this department, but across all of our departments.
And then I also just wanted to say, I like the idea of using the senior center more as a meeting spot, drop-in type thing. And I would just suggest that, the monthly book club, we have a library that does book clubs all the time. So let's break down the silos and work together. I think they would be very interested in maybe
Yeah.
having a staff person come over to the senior center
And in the new
and do
library.
book clubs there, as opposed to us thinking that we have to hire new people or have other people, our current people do that. So let's work together.
Yeah, Mr. Wary, to that point, I think, when you're going through each department's budget, look at that kind of overlap and where they can do it together rather than.
Just a note on that salary wages line, I just want to mention though, I do feel like some of our rec positions are underpaid and we see a revolving door sometimes and we can't retain talent because the salaries are so low. Like one thing I know we've talked about or brainstormed is even changing the structure to have someone more senior with more money. I'm just bringing that up because you flagged that line. So I just want to make a note that it's been hard to retain people, I think, because of the low
Yeah, I agree.
wages.
Agreed. So does anybody have any other questions for the lines or anything for Ms. Mancuso?
Ms. Mancuso, you do a great job with all the programming and all the ideas and stuff
Yeah.
too. So even when we get critical or whatnot, I just want to mention that. And you always have like a smile and a cheery personality. So thank you.
I do want to mention an item in salary and wage, an item in other expense, which is two towns. Currently, we don't have a two-town staff person, and we aren't incurring a lot of expenses now in that line. I know that'll be a discussion with the township committee, and that, may change what's appropriated.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, say that again?
I know.
The
you
two towns,
Okay.
or the Soma Two Towns for All,
Yes, I know what it is.
it's not
Yep.
currently staffed.
Right.
So that position, and towards the end of last year, we were incurring less expenses in that position. I expect the township committee will have a discussion about how that continues, and so that may affect these lines.
Well, we're waiting for guidance from both administrators of both towns
Yes,
for,
yes, and as you're aware, we've scheduled a meeting to follow up on that. But I just
Yeah.
want to highlight that in that it's on the page in front of you, and
Yeah.
that number may change.
okay.
And that's,
I missed that because I thought the two towns was under it's not under administration budget, it's under community
No.
services budget.
That's right.
and the other thing is, this 40,000 is just for salary, right? Because there's money in the pot, the Soma Two Towns for All Ages pot, that we haven't all fully expended for programming. Isn't that right?
Another 15.
Another 15 at the bottom.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is that, under leagues, another team or league fee? What's that for?
13 travel basketball teams, so we're running two different leagues. We're running, where we have enough kids. We used to just be like, you guys made the cut, didn't enjoy rec basketball, but now we can field two teams. We'll run it both leagues. So I think there's three of the boys teams we have double teams rather than.
But those are covered by the fees to be in the league or no? By the participants?
Yes.
Yeah,
It just
most-
ups what we
That's
have.
great that it's growing.
Yes.
Yeah, Mike's all into it.
I love it. Ooh, I'm jealous.
Anything else before we move on to pool? Mr. Weary.
No.
Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Mancuso.
Onto the pool. Some accomplishments are, we had the resurfacing project completed and we have time, so that the weekend. And
Yay.
so thanks to engineering, it worked on that project and got us going for Memorial Day weekend. We met the goal of increasing weekend swim lessons for the older age groups also. We only had this for 3 and 4-year-olds, and we increased based on some feedback to have that been for. We increased the amount of adult novice learn to swim classes based on the success the previous year. And we are really proud that Ellis, our instructor, taught, I think the oldest, it went from 18-year-olds in the adult class was, so we taught an
It's a lot.
and now she could swim with her grandkids, so that's what changes the whole experience of water if you don't, of course. So the pool staff successfully handled the heat wave days, and we had increased attendance at the pool a lot also. We had a lot of registrants this year. We hired a new pool manager. We have 3 pool managers on the team, and 1 had moved on, so it's always a little bit scary to get a new manager. There's a lot of hours and a lot to learn, but he did a great job joining the team. We accommodated 370 swim lessons, so that's a big part of our mission, of course, is water safety. The swim team, the Makos had 83 swimmers, and we had a winning season. We had a really great season for the Makos. The dog day, of course, at the end of the summer, we had 101. We executed the pool accessibility membership, which expanded membership by a lot. So thanks to the Township Committee making these accessible for a lot of people, we yielded those applications and got memberships from them also. We have a family changing room now, so we're enjoying that very much. We hosted 9,090 members, so that's not memberships, but so a lot of people that were swimming this year. It didn't just feel like it. A lot of people. And 484 people got to benefit from the subsidy. That's a lot of accessibility for everybody to come enjoy the water. We applied for some grants this year for the first time, Learn to Swim grants from USA Swimming and the Swimming Hall of Fame. They are in process right now. I did learn that they should be letting everybody know by April 1st if anything is being granted. We conducted in-training services for all staff, and we did have 2 employee appreciation events at the pool, which we changed a little bit to include some on-land fun things because we weren't having as much participation with front desk and patio staff because not everybody likes to swim. So we were doing some land things too to make it, help everybody there appreciated, not just lifeguards. So trying to get everyone fun, and we're very grateful they keep coming back. We conducted an end-of-season satisfaction survey to gain important data and feedback from pool users and then non-pool users, asking a little branch of questions to them too. Why did you not sign up? So that's useful data. I'm still a little bit of a geek to go through all of the open-ended questions because I read them all. Nosy, and I love it. So 2025 goals are hiring a full-time pool maintenance worker to assist the foreman, to close the gap in coverage. Since the day is so long, it's like a 5 a.m. till, I say 9 p.m. We close at 8, but there's things to close up and lock up and sometimes
Stragglers.
get people out. We hope to expand membership and enhance operations, make everything easier, do a larger outgo. And then we have a larger bather load daily. So we're always learning with that with the water chemistry too. So between our filtration, our nice surfacing, we're like, it's going good. So we just have to get the staff up to speed, and I think we're in good shape. We plan on increasing weekend swim lessons where that's possible. We are going to eliminate the 10:30 a.m. weekday swim lesson slot. We tried it one last time last year, and it seems it's too late in the day. So we're gonna get rid of that and use our resources and other time slots on the weekends. Recruiting and operating new seasonal staff, onboarding them and cross-training to understand the complete operation, which is hard to do when you're, constantly at the pool. There's not many like teachable moments about different areas of the pool. Like the demand is very high. Everybody needs something. There's whistles blowing. Don't eat on the upper deck. All these rules. So I just like for everybody to know all the rules and to keep the managers helping us to keep members talking to managers and not lifeguards watching the water. And you're like, when's adult swim? Is there hot dogs at the, food stand? So it's like they have to watch the water. We're going to try to have a manager swiftly there to help the members and keep everybody watching water, and safety, of course, is paramount. We hope to retain strong staff members, promote internally, and really get the swim lesson. We're so proud of it last year with the curriculum and with the report cards and really having like benchmarks per lesson. So we hope to keep that up and keep enhancing that. And we want to transform the locker rooms a little bit to a cleaner, more inviting space. So when you do the survey, you hear everybody's high points, low points. A lot of them are the same over all of the years, but we would like to change the locker rooms a little bit, just make them more inviting, and maybe make a better use of the space and the future space can be creative. So this, if you have the pictures, is one of the favorite pictures. And so our goal is really to keep having fun. So from January, when we had our forums of visions of the inclusive playground, which were very engaging and educational, to our December tree lighting party for the seniors, we are all here to address the needs of the community and help them experience maybe things they never expected all year long. It's always fun when a senior is in a float for the first time on float night, or going down the water slide at the senior picnic this year. It's pretty funny. From heat advisory swim-ins to the racing registration of ski club, which of course is 300 kids strong, and we're not ending that. Our team has surpassed all goals and expanded a lot of hearts. So I really just think our key to success is in the staff, everybody. So we have the best staff around. They're well-trained. They support participants, love what they do. They feel supported. So we have open communication, which is really important in this department. And we're grateful for our seasonal and part-timers' commitment. They work hard in the sun. It is not an easy job. And their ability to keep us safe and willingness to make more memories, add on. Like now we're really up for the challenges, and we couldn't do any of this without them. We love working alongside multi-generational different events, which is our goal again for next year. The community partners, including our own municipal department, make everything very fun when we partner with the library and health department. South Essex Fire comes out, to camp and other things. The DPW, of course, keeps everything going for us in the parks and our facilities. The police and really all the departments, they help teach our youth about the township, offer services, and let everybody know it's open communication in the town. And we continue to work with and take into advisement the advisory boards that I'm a liaison on, which is Rec Advisory, Pool Advisory, Health and Human Services Subcommittee, Senior Advisory, Open Space Trust, and we're looking forward to new committees or subcommittees that might come up along in 2025. We're very grateful for the support of administration and the governing body, mayor and township committee people, and some of these pictures we're adding to the fun. And we want to increase, services to keep the motto of all for fun and fun for all. Along with the increased programming, continued fresh ideas, and new registrations rolling in, we brought in, on the programming and pool membership side, about $1.88 million in 2024. And there's a programming grid there. And then we actually brought in more with the facility reservations also, which they're zeroed out in here. And then there's just some pictures, an example, Bring Your Kid to Work Day, where we had all the departments come out and show the kids, DPW, police, fire, administration, and members of the TC made that a fun day. And then there's just some other staff photos, just sharing what we're doing all year round with everybody in the community.
Great, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for the pool budget? Ms. McCosa?
The, in the pool budget, 501-102 line, this is the one maintenance, salary and wages. So you say you're bringing on a new employee. That's going to be a full-time employee for the pool?
That's the request.
Okay. And we had a situation last year where the head custodian was working a lot of hours. Is this budget going to resolve that?
Yeah, the pool foreman, that's the
Yeah.
expectation.
Yeah.
And so it's important, I guess, to understand how it's set up currently, where we have a full-time pool foreman and the assistants to the foreman are seasonal employees. And we had difficulty getting last year and the year prior a qualified person in there who wanted to do it just for the summer. And so Ms. Mancuso's request is for that person to be full-time annually, with the expectation that we can get a qualified person who wants to serve in the role of a certified pool operator. And last year we hired an outside company to come in and do that, which is difficult because it's expensive and we have less control over it.
Yeah, no, I see, because you have reduction in the seasonal, so yeah.
Yeah. The big piece of that, though, is what they do in the off season, and we want.
That's a big piece.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we got to figure that out because,
Yes.
we now have our foreman here working on stuff here. And I don't know, there's stuff at the pool, I'm sure that needs to get addressed, and I don't, just going to have to get that done too.
Yep.
The other thing is we had talked about reducing the fee 10% a year. That was our goal.
Yep.
So if we were to reduce the fee this year, these numbers, Mr. Cologe, that you plugged in here, this doesn't take that into account. Is that correct? Increasing the subsidies? Okay, so if we brought in 800 and, well, let's say we bring in $1 million. If we wanted to do 10%, we'd have to put another 100,000 over? Okay.
Well, the caveat to that, though, is there's a limit to how many total members we expect to get at the pool, just people who are interested in going. But last year, when we cut rates, we actually made more revenue from those memberships. Now, there's a point where that can't continue all the time.
Right, but we don't know where that is yet.
Exactly, and so it's really hard to figure.
Okay.
And
But
that's why these small cuts are helpful to us, so that we don't see like a big shock one year by, let's say cutting rates 40%. I think that's why the 10% is helpful to us.
Yeah, but I think that was our goal. So when you come back, you have to plug that in and see what the numbers look like. And if you have an alternative, if it isn't 10, is it 5, is it 8, or something like that?
Yep.
And is the pool pals line in here somewhere?
That's in the other budget, 25,000, right?
Yeah, so we make a contribution in the community services budget of 25,000 to the pool subsidy. And then Pool Pals also raises money for the subsidy.
Oh, that was the pool accessibility. That was what you were talking
Yeah,
about.
that's
Okay,
right.
now it makes sense in my head.
If you're looking on the revenue side, and we'll discuss this again in the February meeting, but you can see that there's the last line, pool deficit due from current fund. Last year was $251,000. This year it's $400,000. That's a result mostly of not having the American Rescue Plan money of $250 that we had last year.
So we already have to put more town money in just to make up for what we lost on the federal money.
Absolutely.
And then if we want to do any kind of reduction of the fee, that would be in addition to the 400.
That's right.
350.
And on this revenue page, the one
No,
thing that
400,
will be added in
500.
is last year we hadn't picked up as revenue to the pool, the $21,000 that we generate from the parking lot lease to New Jersey Transit. So that'll be added here. It'll be a reduction in that $400,000 number. It's a wash because we're not going to be able to realize that in the municipal budget. But it's a more accurate account.
You're looking at the 2024.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the 2025 line.
The left column
I'm
admin
looking at
recommend.
0 for 2025.
Is she saying because last year
No, I'm saying
the 250,000 was the American Rescue Plan
Yeah.
money? And then there was another 251,000, which I thought was part of us lowering the fee. So now it's 400,000. So that's the 250,000 from the American Rescue Plan plus another
350.
whatever the math is. So is that not already accounted for?
It's accounted for, but we had generated
More
more
money.
in membership fees last year than we
Yeah.
had expected. And so, and I guess revenue in general, that due from current fund is kind of a balancing act. That number is going to change as we increase expenses, decrease revenues. So it's some of that number not being 500,000 is because we did better than expected on
Right.
the
On the other
membership fee.
revenue sources, right?
Do you like?
Any other questions? Go ahead.
I have a question that's sort of related, but maybe it's not.
Yeah.
That's the question. The Maplewood Cares Fund, who administers that? That's not through community services, right? Is that through administration? Because that is not for pool subsidies. We have Pool Pals and we have Maplewood Cares.
Yeah, that's the health department.
That's the health department. That's for like emergencies that people
That's
have
right.
and so on and so forth.
And it's not a very big line, which is why I'm not
Okay,
very.
we'll talk about that when we get to the health department. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I just wondered if you know, for the heat wave openings, do you know how many we had? And like, do you have any idea of like how many people?
Yeah,
Oh, that would be really helpful because I think as we talk about accessibility of the pool, it'd be great to be able to, to lean on that.
Right, because every year when we have to do it, we get some public narrative pushback that we don't have the capacity, but but I don't think that's the case, right?
helpful to the operation. Come cool off. Yeah. Pull them back in,
Mm-hmm.
to the 3 heat wave days. I'm like, don't go to the beach. Stand here so we can see. We learned we need to operate. Get everybody in comfortably and people weren't waiting.
Yeah.
And then.
Yeah, I want to look at that because I don't think we're going to see a decrease.
It's
in
getting
this
cooler, isn't it?
And
during
it's
the summer.
happening earlier. Last year, the problem also was that there were heat waves before school ended. So everyone was around and everyone was coming to the pool at the same time.
It's getting
Yeah.
Which
earlier
I
and
think-
lasting longer.
I think Ms. Mancuso and the pool staff did a good job pivoting and changing the policy a little bit in order to make it more sustainable. But I also want to just applaud this curriculum, the swim lesson curriculum. I don't think you did that to do justice in your report. So congratulations on creating a great swim lesson program. And I'm happy to hear you're going to expand weekend swim lessons.
Yes, yes, to expanded swim lessons on the weekends for our adults. I think we saw a big demand in both areas.
Anybody have anything else for the pool? You good? Go home and take care of your sick daughter. Hopefully her fever's breaking. Had a high fever for a few days. Her daughter.
Everyone's
103?
sick. Wow.
So scary. And she's still refusing the flu medicine?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mancuso. Thanks very much. Okay. Yay. DPW got here on early, 6:45 it says. Oh. Hello. No, you're taking it. Mr. Han, want to pull up a chair next to you, I think would be a good idea with, and share the mic. Mr. Wary,
Here, I'll grab this one.
I think he's saying you're old. Don't lift it.
Yeah. You know, not all the departments have a lot to ask about. But this is one of the biggest departments we have.
Well,
so.
then, yeah, maybe, whatever, just make sure he has a microphone to use, or he can stand at the podium too. if you want.
Thank you.
Welcome. Mr. Kittner, Mr. Haran. We're going to go to Public Works first, so want to give a brief overview of 2024 and then a brief preview of 2025 for Public Works, and then we can go into the numbers.
Thank you, Mayor. So 2024 was a productive year for DPW. We got a lot done, I think. Starting with tree planting, we planted almost 300 park trees and street trees, just short of that. We installed 2 high-capacity EV chargers at the DPW building. We also expanded our electric fleet with F-150 pickup truck and a senior bus, an electric senior bus that was recently delivered. You know,
Which we will never see.
we've worked hard with our normal programs such as spring rakeout,
Mhm.
shredded day, leaf pickup. That's all typical, but this year was a little different. We designed and built in-house all the outdoor straighteries on Maplewood Avenue.
Mhm.
So that, I think, was a project that was overall, I think, successful.
Hugely successful. I think it made a big difference in the village for sure.
Well, this man sitting next to me, Mr. Haran, our superintendent, he was one of the people building it, so I think he had a hand in it.
I would have hired you to do my deck, but I paid somebody else.
We also worked on pathway projects, you know, certainly.
Yeah,
Memorial Park, we added the pathway there,
yep,
and I think that was successful as well. So
very.
road repairs, we filled over 2,500 potholes, 2,000 miles that were swept with our sweepers. And we also removed 13,000 cubic yards of leaves. So it's a big pile
That
of
up
leaves.
or down from last year?
I think it was actually slightly more,
Mm-hmm,
and I don't have a reason for it yet.
mm-hmm,
I think it was slightly elevated.
okay,
All
Not by
those
much.
trees you're planting.
yeah. Oh, okay. That's a lot less, am I right? Or is my math?
It was a little more this year.
Okay, I misheard you then.
A couple hundred cubic yards. Anyway.
Yeah.
You know, some of it's compaction too. It's close enough.
Mm-hmm,
You know, we also worked on utilities and stormwater. We jetted miles of piping and cleaned all these catch basins, performed building maintenance, and we'll get into the DPW abatement project during engineering. In terms of goals, you know, we want to continue to integrate our departments, engineering and DPW. I think we've been working very well together. You know, we want to continue to look into electrifying our fleet, making it greener, more sustainable.
Mhm.
That's certainly a push of ours. We want to certainly update the recycling contract for 2026, and that's something we're going to work on, I'm sure, hand in hand.
yeah, we'll have a meeting soon.
Absolutely. We've been upgrading park lighting to LED.
Good.
There was a big push last year for that, but we're going to continue that push this year. And, you know, we're always trying to evaluate our storm preparedness. You know, I think it's during some of these more intense storm events we've been experiencing,
Mhm.
you know, people feel it, and we do everything we can to get ahead of the storms by cleaning catch basins and anticipating the rainfall and the storms.
We should use our new information officer too, by the way, Mr. Wary, for storm prep, to get people to do their own catch basins. I don't think anybody really thinks of that, just thought of it because he said it, so maybe.
Yeah, we've been talking about that and like with the Tip Tuesday and just she's been using Instagram and socials to put out some of these tips of
Yeah,
things
yeah.
homeowners can do. Like we've even talked about like, sweeping the sewers before a storm or whatnot.
Yeah, but when, as part of the storm prep before, if we know something's coming.
I think that's a great idea, and we've already taken advantage of Ms. Price and her skill set and
Mhm.
issues. We want to continue planting trees, and certainly in impacted areas, certain sections of our town are more impacted than others.
Mhm.
We want to restore the tree canopy as best we can with some of these trees and try to lower the overall heat index. Of course, purchasing equipment that's more efficient and greener, that's always on our list, including small equipment. We've migrated more towards electric string trimmers and blowers. And, we're actually touching on chainsaws, electric chainsaws, so we're trying to make that push.
It'd be nice to start seeing a year-over-year comparison as we transition from fossil fuel equipment, just to see what we've saved on the fossil fuel purchases. And if I doubt sincerely, any of us who have electric cars don't see a huge increase in our electric bill, but we save $3,000 a year on gas, right? So just be nice to see it, to make sure it's,
Sure,
yeah.
absolutely. And, the technology is getting to the point where it's getting closer in terms of performance.
Mhm. Well, and you adapt, right?
Makes the switch easier.
Yeah.
Also, lastly, a big push for DPW is also in-street striping,
Mhm.
replacing the worn-out crosswalks, stop bars, parking striping, and that's something I think to push harder this year.
Do we still have the capacity to do that in-house?
We do. We use latex paint. We don't use thermoplastic.
Ah.
paint. So this is better for neighborhood streets that are less.
Mr. Haran, did you want to add anything? Your goals?
No, I think Mr. Kittner, pretty much said it well. I mean, like he said, I'd like to see more, street tree planting throughout the town. We enjoy doing that.
Mhm.
And like I said, any other projects that you have for DPW in terms of pathways and paving, I mean, we enjoy doing that as well, so.
Do we have the ability in-house to do the tree plantings? I remember asking this 9 years ago when I first got here about, because we buy the trees from a contractor plants them. So I don't know if I know that DPW does plant trees, but not a lot of them, right?
We've done it in years past. It's
Right.
difficult. I try to encourage our contractors, if they can, to try to find bare root or
Mhm.
potted ones, bole and burlap. It's difficult for us to, kind of do on our own. It's really.
Oh, okay.
time-consuming, But we have done, street tree planting in the past, but.
Yeah.
We're able to use a contractor. They're a lot more, efficient at it than we are.
Oh, yeah, they're definitely more efficient, but you get fewer trees at the end of the day.
So, yeah, it's almost like a cost.
Mhm. Yeah, understood. Yeah, and I know you do plant some, even
Yeah, I mean, we do.
definitely in the parks and stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Great. I just want to say thank you very much, Mr. Haran, for your leadership at DPW. I think it's been just your responsiveness and your ability to work with the Conservancy and other areas of town. I really, Maple Crest neighbors, just to, I don't think you've ever said no, and you're always there to respond, and I
I
appreciate
appreciate
that.
anything I can do and anything Public Works can do to help. More than willing.
Very much appreciated. Anyone have any questions on DPW or comments?
Well, just to know, because you're talking about tree plantings, we've also talked about how they are creating door hangers so that when trees are planted, street trees, they can let residents know how to take care of the tree. So I think that's going to be a really good program.
Yeah, we have a vendor lined up who's gonna be, making those door hangers for us. We just, together a graphic design and, we can get that underway.
Yeah, that's good. I know we were just doing flyers, but sometimes people don't read them and then they let the tree die.
We'll have that done for the trees before spring.
Great. Okay.
So I just want to follow up on that. That's a really good point about the door hangers, right? And educating the residents on how to take care of the trees and maintain them that we put in. However, I think what happens in some instances, depending on the tree, of course, and the location where it's planted, some of these trees we don't, through the years, we lose sight of or track of, and they become hazards. They become hazards to the street. They become hazard to the sidewalk. The resident then is required, they're responsible to fix the sidewalk if it, you know what I'm saying, right? And we also live in a community where we have a lot of aging residents who can't afford to do that. So it's important to replace our canopy 100%, and I think our residents appreciate that and want that. We will continue doing that. But I wonder if it's worth having sort of a database, if we don't already, tracking where we're planting and what we're planting, and having some sort of plan for maintenance from the township's perspective, pruning before storms, so on and so forth, right? That helps us sort of get ahead of the problem.
Minimum deficit, I think that's a great idea. We actually do have the inventory of trees
Yeah.
on an Excel spreadsheet. I wouldn't
Right.
database, but it's that locations and dates in which it was planned. So
Yeah.
we could certainly expand on that, and I think the maintenance portion of it is well taken. So
Thank you.
When we go through and choose the, the locations where we're going to plant, we look at the area to make sure there's no overhead wires. Obviously, you don't want to plant a shade tree when you've got communication and power lines above. In areas like that, we try to plant more ornamental. We also look at the width between the curb and sidewalk area. Again, it's another area where you don't want to plant a large-scale tree where the roots are going to upheave the sidewalk. So we take all those factors into consideration when we're choosing where these trees are going to go.
Thank you.
I had two things I wanted to ask about. I'm glad that, first of all, those streeteries, amazing. They look really, really nice. And I also love to see what you're doing with all the EV in the fleet. Really excited about that. I wanted to ask about the restriping of crosswalks because I just wanted to emphasize that I think this really needs to be a top priority, and I want to make sure that you have what you need to get this done because there's so many crosswalks all over town. I feel like I'm constantly seeing they're very faded. And so I've seen a couple like that are in front of Maplewood Middle School, and I feel like we need to really take a concentrated effort to like really look at the ones around schools and make sure that they're bright. I love the pictures that I saw of the new ones, like they're beautiful and they're bright and white. You can see them really well. And I just feel like we need to make sure that we have those, in parts of town where we have lots of pedestrians, where we have the kids especially walking to school. Like even, I think it was like last night, my son was crossing Maplewood Avenue. They parked in the parking lot by the train station. They crossed over by Starbucks to go over to Greenway. And he said, it's very faded. And I was like, well, okay, I'll tell somebody. So
Just did.
You'll tell someone. You're responsible
I'll let
now,
somebody
lady.
know.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Well, I think it was his father said,
you.
oh, well, you might know somebody that you can go to about
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
So,
Herman, we actually have a RFP package out right now for Maplewood Ave. So we recognize that they were
amazing.
See what you did there?
actually out, and we're hoping to get that awarded in the near future. But we agree, it's an important safety feature, but at the same time, it's also an increase in maintenance and responsibility. And that's one of the reasons why we asked for more traffic calming this year in our capital requests in engineering. So.
Yeah, I was going to wait until the engineering, but I'm just going to echo what Ms. Herman said, especially on Prospect Street. I know we're planning on redoing Prospect Street in 2026, but those crosswalks are really narrow and really hard to see. And with the cars backed up, you can't see them. And multiple people have gotten hit on Prospect now over the years. So I don't know if that can wait until 2026. So I'm just making that since it came up.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The second thing I just wanted to ask is about fields. And I just wanted to make sure you have what you need to meet your goal to continue to improve the maintenance and management of our athletic fields. Because that's really important. Want to make sure that you, that you're getting what you need on that.
So I'll let Mr. Haran speak in a second on that. I just want to say one thing that we are working on a plan for D Hart, and we actually met with the consulting engineering company this morning. Had a meeting on that. So, and in terms of field maintenance, I think we are focused on overseeding, fertilizing the proper way. And, grass cutting, of course, is an important aspect of it. So we're focused on all the aspects of the maintenance, and there are certain fields that are used more than others that maybe need a little more attention. That's something we could look at this.
Great, thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, just a couple of things. Do we still have a storm fund? Are we putting money in that every year, or do we not need to do that? We are, okay.
Not as an appropriation in the budget, but as canceling unspent expenses from
Okay.
prior years.
And Mr. Weary, could you just go into a little bit of our plan? We do have something new in this budget, and that's 290,000 for the stormwater utility.
So you'll see this on the last page of the DPW spreadsheets. This is the township's responsibility to pay for the impervious surface that we have in our right-of-way, so our streets especially. The expectation is this will be our $290,000 payment, and then when we set up the utility, we will also use that to pay out $290,000 of expenses that are currently in our DPW and engineering. And that way, residents don't see the effect of this stormwater utility, both in the stormwater fee, but also in the impact it'll have on taxes as a result of the municipal budget. So, and I'd recommend that continue in any future years, that whatever the town is assessed for our own contribution, that we offset that with expenses that would otherwise be in our operating budget.
Anybody else? DPW lines? No, you can have all the money you want, apparently. Until engineering comes up. You want to move on to engineering?
It's up to you.
He's not sure.
Well, it's always so much fun with all the money you always ask for, so.
Yeah, it's
I asked everyone if they wanted to, if they had any questions on anything in front of them, and other than Mr. DeLuca, there wasn't any. So I think we're good.
Mayor, we have someone in the audience who came for engineering DPW, and I just think if we can, after Mr. Kittner is finished, if we could give her an opportunity to ask any
have
questions
no
of
idea.
Mr. Kittner.
I didn't know. Okay. Appreciate it. All right, Mr. Bear.
Thank you. We were certainly busy last year.
I know. It keeps you from idle hands, you know?
Now,
Wanna keep you busy.
Today, goes fine.
Like that.
The better.
That is a benefit.
In terms of accomplishments under the road program, we paved just over 14 miles of roads. We did have a number of traffic calming projects that we worked on, many of which we completed. Maplewood Ave was one of them in West Parker.
Mhm.
We worked that intersection, added rapid flashing beacons and a crosswalk at that location. Academy Street, we did, and Beach Street, we did a bump out by the school. And the rapid flashing beacons were also installed, I believe, at that location too, or. Oh, Burnett, okay. So we still have the rapid flashing beacons to be installed because the contractor is waiting for parts, everything's up back order. But, that was an improvement. Also, other parts of Maplewood Ave, we reworked the entire stretch from, Jefferson to West Parker. So I think that was a big project. Newark Way, We added a crosswalk, Burnett Ave. We added 3 separate rapid flashing beacons by the community center, and by the church, and you know, I think it made a difference. We also worked on a bike layout for the township, a bike, right, a bike lane.
Yeah.
So that's getting worked on now and perfected. The traffic data was also collected for a number of different intersections. This is important because we need baselines for the streets and the intersections. And having this data allows us to switch gears and implement traffic calming with less work and less time.
Okay.
In terms of building improvements, you know, we did a number of improvements in our buildings. You know, Memorial Library, we removed a 2,000-gallon underground storage tank there. Prior to construction at pool, we resurfaced the pool. Three of the pools were resurfaced. Town Hall, we made certain plaster repairs. And East Building, we're working on a heat pump package, which we're hopeful to get on the street in the near future. We're just waiting for the funds to clear. Senior Center, we added a crosswalk, an ADA crosswalk and ramp. The utility stormwater was a big push for us. Certainly, that advancements in Maple Terrace, a 3D model was built, HECRAS 2D route for that location, and we modeled that with a consulting engineering company. And obviously, the stormwater utility, that's the big push for us as well. Okay. So DPW, we removed a bunch of contaminated soil from prior underground storage tanks that had, you know, contaminated that area, and that work was closed out complete.
Yay.
Memorial Park, we completed the Duck Pond Bridge construction, and we talked about the walkway. So there's a lot we worked on. I just want to talk briefly in terms of accomplishments on grants, right? That's an important part of our job, right? I mean,
Yes.
we try to ease the burden on residents in terms of their tax burden. So DOT Municipal Aid Grant for Springfield Ave, both sections, 2023 and 2024. $873,000 of approved funding from them. We also received the SEPI grant for the police building heat pumps. We spoke about that briefly. That was $250,000.
Mhm.
We received the DOT Municipal Aid Grant for Prospect Street. That was $498,000. And then Mikey Sherrill, you know, we received for Kendall Ave for drainage improvements, which we're looking forward to working on, and that was $965,000.
Do we know when we're getting that? I'm a little worried it's going to be stopped.
No, well, we did coordinate with EPA, and we filled out the paperwork that was required, so, you know, we're.
I mean, I don't know what the line is where, you know, it's safe from.
No one does at the moment.
No one does.
Of my paper.
Very good point. Okay,
Uh,
fair enough.
So we also won a $65,000 grant through DCA,
Mm-hmm.
field redesign, and an inclusive playground. We worked with the Recreation Department and Mr. Weary, in fact, and we received a $750,000 grant there.
All much appreciated.
And
But
do we
it
know
makes
if
me
that one
nervous.
is
Yeah, is that safe?
Jake's Playground? Is that a state? It's a state
No.
fund, but
DEP, though, a lot of this money that we get from the state is passed through, especially
yeah,
DEP. So
yeah.
Oh, it's like this.
all this needs to be looked into further.
So in terms of goals, you know, obviously, the stormwater utility is a big focus for us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we want to bid out our road program for this year. That's a thing for us. We want to look at capital planning, and I'm sure Mr. Kaloje would appreciate us
5 years?
investing more time in that, 5 and 10-year capital planning.
Is that right, CFO? Would be.
We're pushing to get the DeHart design this year complete.
Yes.
That's one of of our goals too, and we'll see where construction lands in terms of timing. Obviously, traffic calming initiatives are always paramount and important, as are, this bike lane project that we're looking into as well for the town. We're going to continue with that. We want to finalize the design for the library bridge. And we're obviously going to keep seeking funding and grants where they're available. So,
That's the smallest bridge, though, that we're doing, so it shouldn't be as much as the other ones, right?
it shouldn't be. Price fluctuations.
I'm trying.
Bridge.
Maybe more.
You could just say yes,
Bit
that's.
more.
Here's a log.
A few years later.
Lord.
We have some repairs to our storm system, and we also want to look at trying to identify illicit connections in our sanitary sewer system. So we're going to entertain smoke testing certain sections of the piping.
Explanation at some point.
What?
Smoke testing, I said that'll require a better.
Oh, that'll
explanation at some point.
require a lot from our PIO.
Yes.
If you see smoke, don't call the
Right.
fire department.
You know, we should put this stuff on the website. People should know this stuff. They don't know.
They're not gonna look either.
No, but they might.
Well,
They
There might
do.
be
They
a
look,
few.
because they,
A few will.
they ask us where to find that
That's true.
information.
Like the accomplishments. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
The
let's
grant
put it up
funding?
there.
The
The grant
funding
funding
is
is
good.
nice.
I mean,
You didn't have the Safe
Highlighted
Routes
it
to
tonight.
School grant on
Needed
here.
The township address.
Can we get a Safe Routes to School grant?
You were
Or was
hurt.
that last year? Safe Routes to School grant.
All right, let's go through,
Yeah.
lines. Is there any questions? Does anybody have any questions or comments or explanations for any of these line items under engineering?
Well, I'm happy that you put bike lanes as a priority.
Yeah,
I wanted
this isn't in this capital's not here yet, right? So that's where you really kill us.
Yeah.
Engineering, yeah.
Yeah.
I was wondering if I could get a list of the ADA improvements that you're making. I'm happy to see that, though I'm just curious.
Yeah, you do them every year.
It's
Right.
in a couple different areas, but we can put them together, right? So you'd get them through where, Paul? CDBG,
CDBG, our road
do our
program.
regular
Yeah.
road program.
It's
Develop
two different
money.
areas.
Safe Routes to
And
Yeah.
Safe Routes to
So
School.
our income level in Maplewood has gone up, so we can only use that money for ADA compliance. So we get it every year and that's what we do.
Yeah, I'm just wondering like where they are. You know.
Pretty much every corner and crosswalk, right?
Say, we're ahead of the curve compared to most towns. We've spent years
Mm-hmm.
trying to improve the CDBG program and improve ramps. I mean, it's gotten to a point where now we're doing roads and we're like, oh, these ramps have been done and updated. So.
Right.
Yeah, and this is something we may look at in accessibility committee. So,
Mhm.
I love that ramp that you put in at the senior center.
I have a question. Did I see that you write in here somewhere that jitney ridership is increasing again? Or did I just make that up? How are the jitney riding numbers these days? So they're filling up again.
People are going more on Mondays too now than they were a year or two ago. It was like Tuesday through Thursday since COVID, and now it's Monday through Thursday where people are commuting. Mm-hmm. That's helpful, yeah. Anybody have any lines they want to ask questions?
If I could go back to DPW real quick, there was a one line item that I was just curious about. For streets and roads overtime, and the note said increase in township events.
Mhm.
So I was wondering if did we like increase a bunch of events and so that's going up?
Well,
So
I'll let you
there's,
answer.
Events that occur throughout the year, and DPW is asked to participate in those, provide services. So we advertise that on our board. It's awarded by seniority in our garage. And, depending on how many people are required, there's a fairly significant amount of cost which is mainly labor
right.
That's what we've noticed is it's just, there's so many events that it's increased our costs and that's reflected in this number from that.
Right.
Thanks. They do a great job having worked with them on some events, so thank you. Yeah.
Anybody else? Mr. Daffis, you look like you're looking at something. No?
Hmm.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, though.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
That was great. Good job in engineering. We'll give you more work and you'll ask for more money.
Mayor, did you want to open up for the?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Thank you for reminding me. I'm sorry. Didn't know you were here for engineering, but yeah. Please let us know who you are and go ahead and ask your question or make your.
My name is Arias, and I am here for the DPW engineering portion of the event. First of all, I'd like to just say that your tree planting initiative that you did, Garthwaite Terrace benefited from that tree planting, and I thought it was a great initiative. I am saddened to see that other blocks, that the residents have not taken care of these trees, and I've watched trees
Yeah.
die. So I don't know whether it's communication that you need. I could very well have missed the communication, but I didn't know. I happened to just be at home when the tree planting was being done and walked out and said, "What are you doing?" And we have a beautiful tree in our front yard. But I think, so, I think that there are other families, other residents that could have probably stepped up and taken care of the trees because now they're.
Yeah, now they're dead. Yeah.
So I attended the last meeting, and I've visited with the department of the DPW on a couple of occasions. I'm here to talk about Garthwaite Terrace. The last time I was here, I spoke about the fact that the street is in terrible repair. You kindly, members of the committee, I don't know if, Mayor, if you came out, but people came out and looked at the block and acknowledged the fact that we have an issue on Garthwaite Terrace. There was patchwork that was done. We appreciate, I actually went out and talked to the guys that were doing the patchwork and thanked them for the work. But sadly, with the weather being the way it's been, the patchwork is being washed away or ground away. So I was hoping that I was going to come today to hear the list of roads that were going to be repaved and that Garthwaite Terrace was going to be on the list for repaving. But I understand that you're not going to be presenting that list today.
But you've got a good pitch going.
Well, do you
Yes.
have the list?
Do you have the?
You have the list? I mean,
List? There was a list somewhere.
Presenting that, maybe I think. So, but all of that depends on a couple of things, one of which is funding. So, I don't think, I certainly can't give you a definitive answer right now because we don't know what the fund's gonna want to do. But I can tell you that
It's on the list, so now it's our.
yeah, you can look at us.
You can look at
Pressure
us.
us now. Yes, because he's done his job.
Well, he ranks them too,
the
right?
operative word in this whole conversation is currently on the list.
Right.
Current list.
Yeah.
We really appeal to you. As I've said before, we have young children on the block. We have kids that walk to school. We have little ones that play on the street. We have handicapped and elderly. And it really is, it's become a liability. So we appeal to you all. Please, please keep Garthwaite Terrace on the list for repaving.
Mr. Wary, can you remind us when the capital and projects budget hearing is? So she
Yes,
can
that
correct
is
it?
on February 25th.
So that's when we'll be talking about it, February 25th.
You mentioned 3 sets of dates, February 25th, the capital presentation, April.
No, so we have 3 budget workshops. We have tonight, next Monday, February 3rd, and then the final one is Tuesday, February 25th. And then the later dates are for budget introduction and adoption.
Okay.
The whole budget.
But
Yeah.
February 25th is when, Miss-
When we present the capital budget on the.
so he'll present again and he'll have that list and he'll say, can you give me money to repave these roads? And that's when we'll talk
I
about it.
look forward to seeing you all again on February.
Okay, we look forward to it.
To recognize my face.
Yeah,
Appreciate your.
I've only seen your face on Zoom before.
Yeah, it's nice to
She's
see
been
you in
here.
person.
I don't.
She's
oh,
been here
yeah.
before, right?
Yeah.
You came with neighbors, you
Yeah,
read
I
a whole
thought
letter.
so.
Sorry.
I don't know. I can't even remember myself. Thank you. Mr. Kittner, how many streets are on your current list, by the way?
Yeah, I know.
And total 1.7. And normally we budget around 1.2, I want to say. Okay.
Do you know, in your accomplishments, we have in road improvements, do you know what this list of 11 cost? You're not going to have that offhand.
Okay. That was about 1.3 million.
That was about 1.3 million right there. Okay. Okay.
There we
You
are.
do.
Do you have anything further that you'd like to add? We probably should have done the capital. You allotted a lot of time for him. It's supposed to go till 8:15 and it's 7:25.
But luckily, Mr. Palmer's here.
Yes, I was noticing that when she walked in. And then we have the clerk and the
Watching
administrator.
Anyway.
All right,
Everyone's
let's keep.
here.
Does anybody need a 5-minute break?
I also have sick kids at home.
Yes, please.
So I think we're done with you. Until February 20th.
Until next time.
Thank you for your great work, really.
Thank you,
Thank
as
you.
you know. for everything. That's the one we don't like him at.
That's the fun one.
That's the one we don't like him.
The big dollars.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, operating is a lot easier.
Yeah. We're taking a 5-minute break, yeah. Oh, looks like you're ready.
They were nice.
All right, welcome back. The mics are on, so are we. So we're back with Community Development. Mr. Palma, welcome. Thank you for coming in this evening. Would you like to give us an overview of 2024 and then a preview of 2025? And then your any numbers you want to let us know about? Can you speak into the mic?
So, very quickly, so the Department of Community Development encompasses 5 different divisions. Included in my narrative is the UN report. We have Construction Division, Property Maintenance, Zoning, Land Use Administration, and Fire Prevention. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, probably very little unless you ask me questions, but essentially, so the 5 divisions, and we essentially touch every piece of property in the township, except for taxation. So in terms of property maintenance, land use, property transfers and all of that, it all happens upstairs. And, we have a very, very good team. And one of the things that we've tried to do is, even though everyone has discrete skills and some of the personnel in the department are licensed, there's a lot of cross-training. So that someone in the construction division, for example, knows how to handle a registration form. Someone comes. And that is, it's pretty important because we all have at least a general of what, people can sit 25 feet away from you are doing. And more importantly, how it impacts your own piece of work upstairs.
Mhm.
So it enables us to be holistic in the way we deliver services in terms of property. So we like that a lot. The construction division, we're now fully staffed. We have a construction official and we have 2 technical assistants to the construction official, both of whom are, trained and skilled in that. It's going to be very useful this year. I'm kind of integrating what I hope to do for this year. I'm going to back up for 1 second. So it was 4 years ago when I was made the head of the department upstairs. Kind of had a 5-year plan. There were things that, could have been done a little bit better. There were best practices that had changed over the decades. And, the staff that was there was perfectly fine. But we needed to sort of, recalibrate, I guess, for lack of a better word. And during the pandemic, when, we were constantly reacting to executive orders and edicts from, the state of how to do things differently, it kind of gave us the opportunity to pull back and look at the way other municipalities were doing things. And so we saw that there were some successes that were worth duplicating. So we were able to take care of zoning, land use, and property maintenance. So construction is kind of the last hurrah for the department in terms of, really implementing best practice. So for 2025, there are 2 related things that we would like to accomplish. One is to change the designations of all the land in Maplewood from mailing address designation to block and lot. Block and lot is definitely the way to go because there's no ambiguity.
Mhm. Right.
And it will also enable us to interact better with both the tax assessor, tax collector, and the state. Most of the municipalities across the state do
describe their properties by block and lot. So it's going to be a very big project. But we have the staff to do it, and I'm confident that we will make a big chunk in that transition in 2025. The other related thing is we want to do some digitizing. We'd like to completely digitize. And we're starting to do a deep dive into the state record retention act because they're very specific requirements, which covers the construction division. It's, you know, statutory framework. It works to some extent alongside our local code, but of course, because it's state law, it does trump.
Oh, don't say that.
Trump does supersede.
Thank you.
know,
Thank you.
other- Those are two big things we want to do in the construction division. We had a lot of big projects last year. I listed them in the report, big construction projects. And, you know, they take a lot of time, not only in the plan reviewing or, you know, inspection stage, but also in the compliance stage. And I'm just going to segue very quickly into land use administration. So we have a land use administrator who, you know, sits on, is the administrator of the zoning and the planning boards. And so it's kind of very easy to think of that person as Adele Lewis. She's been here many years, does a great job, and I don't mean to single everybody out. Everybody upstairs is terrific. But the gearing up for the meetings themselves is only a very small piece of what happens. Tremendous amount of work with the app. Place and you feel comfortable and there's hand holding and all that stuff.
Right.
But even the bigger job is after the meeting when you have the resolution that requires. So, you know, there's a lot there. Now I'm going into more detail than I said I would.
Yes.
So,
I'm just agreeing.
So other than salaries and wages, which are governed by either collective bargaining agreements or reflect certain hiring that we had to do, my budget is either flat or a little bit lower.
It is. It is. Yeah.
Okay, then good. See you later. No. Yeah,
We appreciate that.
right. I'm afraid to ask questions. So
I guess I'll ask, what goes into changing it from mailing address to block and lot? Like, is it just a lot of paperwork and like change it? Like what? I don't know.
So, yeah, I mean, there are many steps. First, you have to actually get so if anyone who's been upstairs, you see what we have as a jacket. So for example, each construction project has a jacket. And it's the,
Right. UCC jacket.
Mhm.
and then inside there are tech sheets. So all of the tech sheets, and they reflect whatever kind of permits people have taken out, electric, plumbing, building, fire,
For years.
or whatever. Over the years, they all need to be transferred into block and lot individually and then put into the file. Theoretically, and I'm hoping we can do this, it should all be scanned so we can get rid of a lot of the paper. And then we have to reconfigure GovPod. The database has to be, the modules have to be adjusted to catch up with the paper. That's just a small part of it. As soon as and I don't even fully understand the way the process should work yet. We're still trying to think through it. We just want to do it once and we want to do it right. But I'd be happy to tell you what it is as soon as we are 100% sure of every step.
Okay, anybody have any questions? Line item questions, work questions? Go ahead.
Couple things. When we shifted from the fire department doing the inspections of the life safety and non-life safety, you know, with the fire department, it was being done by Captain. And then we had a part-time person, the fire captain did the life safety, and we had somebody doing the non-life safety part-timer. And then he eventually grew. But anyway, when we negotiated to bring on the inspectors ourselves, fire official ourselves, we talked about the fees, and the projection was that we were going to raise a pretty significant fee from the non-life and life safety inspections. And I think we've been lagging. And I know we talked about this at Code a couple times about, how are we going to go after people who aren't paying their fees? And I think we've got to put that on the 2025 priority list, because we now have 2 full-time people there, correct?
Yes.
So we've gone from 1.5, we've actually gone from a firefighter and an inspector to now we have 2 full-time people. Sort of, we're creeping up again, but we're not bringing in the income. So we've got to pay attention and figure out how are we going to get those folks to pay the fees that they're have to pay.
Yeah, so there are 2 separate things, and both people in fire prevention now, the fire official and the fire inspector, they're both former firefighters also. So, they're amply. But there are 2 separate issues, though. There's one which is maybe raising the initial fee.
Right.
And then the other one is collecting whatever arrears there are. That's been working I don't know why, but all of a sudden we seem to have a little bit of a spike in.
That's great.
Yeah, but yeah, we do need to figure out a more streamlined way of doing it. We had some conversations with Mr. Bancroft, the court administrator, about whether we should do it through our court, because venue is in municipal court. On the other hand, it's kind of easier to get it all in like summary motion. So
However, I think we should just, and then,
think of something else too. Other fees that we've been talking about in the construction
Right.
division, which is not the permit fees, because we're pretty much in line with like municipalities.
Are they governed by UCC, the permit fees, or no? Some.
I think there has to be a relationship to the cost to the fees,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
but there's not a fee schedule.
Got it.
But one thing that we've been kind of talking about upstairs is how we can make sure that the cost of renovations reflected in the permit applications is a little bit more accurate than sometimes we think it is. So there's a New York City ordinance that during Bloomberg's administration actually was passed about asking for upfront projected costs, and then before you close out the permits or issue the CM, get the actual cost paid out. Because there's a potential
Not getting.
pot of revenue there that we're not capturing.
So that was my next point, was the fees, because I think we need to look at them, because if I remember, Mr. Cologier, in your last report to us, we were down in UCC fees from this year to last year, correct? Am I correct in that?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
half.
Yeah.
Significantly.
Yeah. So, and I know, when you look at your reports that we did, 1,500 permits and $27 million in renovation fees, renovation costs, but, we bring in $500,000 in fees. It's just that I think, we got to take a look at those, what we're charging, and really put it to what what it's costing us to do this.
Well, we did do that most recently. We did it when I first started. We did it again about 2 years ago. Did it, meaning looking at the fees. And the fees are okay. I think the bigger problem is in what I was just talking about, the underreporting of the cost of a job.
Okay.
But in terms of having, roughly half the revenue we have, it's because we don't have, you see all those big projects we did in 2024?
Yeah.
Those permit fees came in 2023.
Right.
So we had almost as many permits, but jobs were small.
I have a question. Are all payments still have to be brought to the building department, to your department, or are we digitizing that so you can pay online?
No, we still, we are a holdout. go back and, you have to bring the money upstairs. And we go back and forth about whether we want to accept credit cards or whether we want to, use, what's the name? Is the one, municipal?
A
Is it-
pilot.
No.
Edmonds,
Edmund?
Edmonds.
Well, MuniPay or.
UniPay, yeah.
I thought we were trying to move everything over to Edmonds.
The thing is, though, we have no audit issues.
That's because you
Kind of
don't, yeah.
Beautiful thing. There seem to be, the electronic payments seem to come with lots of problems.
Well, just to Deb's point, trying to make it easier by being able to pay online, but is there anything that is needed to be in person with regard to construction permits and things like that, or not really?
The problem in construction, or not problem, but the
issue.
reason it hasn't moved over is because it's a paper process
Yeah.
generally. Now, the state is now requiring that we have the ability to do electronic plan review, but still, much of the plan submission and the permit submission is done physical hard copy, and that's how we take our.
And that's just the nature of the industry.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that we shouldn't.
Right, but that doesn't mean you can't pay on, I mean, I've had done projects where you have to bring the paper in, but you can still pay online. I'm just mentioning, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Just something to think about. I know the auditing problem because we've talked a lot with Mr. Kaloje about that too, about what the systems and how they talk and how that works.
The other thing, though, is that most of the people that we take payment from, certainly in construction, the overwhelming majority, probably 99%, they're tradespeople.
Yeah.
So, they come in, they like.
Yeah.
Talk to the construction officials.
Well, and they don't do online payment.
They don't do online payments.
they're bringing
They
checks
get
in.
and in fact, we're having such a hard time because you're supposed to request inspections online now. It's a state mandate. And people still come in and I couldn't get through. So we're having a hard time just having even people do what they absolutely have to do online because they like to come in and,
I
What
hope
about
none
like
of them are
rental registrations and all that?
I was going to talk
is
about that if I may.
required? Or is that,
no.
can you
But-
do that online?
Um,
No.
You can submit the applications. You can get an application. You can email it to us.
But you can't go online and fill out an application and then render payment.
No, but you know what the thing is with some of those too? I'm sure other departments have this and probably have figured it out, but we haven't gotten there yet. But we have to make sure that the applications are really complete. Because like a lot of times what happens if somebody is registering a, let's say, multiple, like a 3-family house, and they didn't
Hmm.
put down their tenants, and they have to put their tenants down. So what winds up happening is if we don't have the application right in front of us,
With the applicant. Right.
we don't get the information. And then we spend more time trying to track people down.
Mhm, mhm.
So I'm not sure if it's.
Yeah.
And I'm not.
Yeah. So can I jump in this conversation? I think this department is an exception to our general policy that we want to go and make things more friendly online and allow people to pay for their permits and licenses online and not have to come here and make it more user-friendly, right? I just think the nature of the business in construction, in property maintenance, in zoning requires some sort of interpersonal interaction. And the users in this particular scenario, they want to come in and they want to have that kind of interaction, as Community Development Director DePalma noted. So I don't want us to, I mean, we can make certain parts of it as digital as we can, but I do think it is an exception.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. So I have two things. I have a compliment, and then I'm going to add to your 2025 goals, like committee member DeLuca did. So number one, I just want to say that obviously you've been through this process many times before. And in addition to being our community development director, you're also our prosecutor. And that shows. You're very seasoned. You don't need to look at the paper. You get to the heart of the matter. There's no unnecessary narrative or word salad. And you're confident in answering questions, and you make eye contact with every member of this committee. Thank you. And because you do all of those things, guess what else you're doing? You are the best advocate and representative of your amazing team that makes all of this happen behind you. Of course, you oversee it and you administer it and you make sure that it's happening and everything is happening the way that it should. But you are representing all those terrific folks upstairs every single day that most people don't have a lot of interaction with, even though, as you say, the work of your department touches almost every property in the township. So that was the compliment. So thank you.
Now-
And now the 2025 goal for me, and you know I'm a broken record about this, and I bring it up at code all the time, but so forgive me in advance. But I do think we need to focus on how we can up our rental registrations and inspections. I know all the challenges involved. It's really, really tough. We're not the only municipality that's not doing it. And it's not that we don't want to do it. There's so many challenges to it. But we are now becoming more and more of a suburban community with more renters and renters of all kinds, right? We have that from our census data most recently. And so I want to make sure that we are getting to that part of this job and making sure that we can register more units and be on top of what's happening and what are the housing conditions of our renters who are becoming more and more a bigger population share of Maplewood. So thank you. That's it.
Anyone else have anything more for Community Development Director?
I have two comments on the budget, if you'll allow me, Mayor. Just, I want to make sure that the Township Committee is aware of one thing, in that we have a shared service with Milburn for the inspections of plumbing and electric. And so those are employees that are
Plumbing and
employees of Maplewood, and they do actually less than half their time inspecting in Maplewood, the remainder in Milburn, and we share those costs. So that's a great benefit to both communities. The other, and we always like shared service, so I want to make sure that we make note of that. The other thing is, Mr. DeLuca had discussed how fire prevention had been in the fire department. When we formed SCFD, fire prevention stayed in what was our Maplewood Fire headquarters because we didn't have another good place to put them. We do expect that we'll move them out of fire headquarters this year when we have availability in the OEM building after the library moves back into the permanent library on Baker. So we will be making that move maybe July of this year.
So they'll be up here or?
No,
at
they'll be
OEM?
at the OEM building.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have other space for them, and that's a suitable space for that operation.
Mhm. Okay. I think you're done. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we go to clerk first.
Oh, were you going to do the prosecutor or not?
Oh, yes, I'm
Oh, I thought you weren't doing prosecutor.
sorry. Now joining us is our municipal prosecutor. Annette
It's
DePalma.
not on the list.
Is it not? Well,
No, it's not.
it is the only place she is on the list, and this
thought she
section was included in the files that I had sent you
I don't see court
previously.
anywhere.
Okay,
Oh, there it is.
so,
Yeah.
Making Ryan come in late.
so again, budget here is, except, I asked for $1,000 more in publications because the cost of subscription services and hardcover books, which are not available, is so crazy more expensive than it was. And sometimes I buy them every other year. But a book that was like $250 2 years ago. Yeah.
Do you see the price of eggs? Go ahead.
So, but otherwise, the budget is flat there.
They've actually. I'm trying to find.
Is court still virtual?
Court is still virtual, except for, and we don't particularly like it. But our vicinage is making us. So it's virtual except for
Here it is.
DUI pleas, trials, and any trial, and, cases of magnitude where somebody's facing jail time, and those are in person. We have at least one in-person session a month. We wish we had more. They're easier and they're better. Sometimes two. If we have, little backlog in the calendar, we may have three, but we've only had one of those in a month. Oh, and by the way, our court is going to be not on Thursdays, but Wednesdays for the month of March.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant
Because
permanently.
judge has to do judge school, and it's on Thursday.
Okay.
Judge
I
school.
love that judge school.
Your breakup, I mean, in terms of your hours.
Yes, yes. So, overall what my hours would be, but I make it real ones or
Generally, the percentage of your time you dedicate towards being a municipal public defender and towards community development, because they're very different roles and
They
both
are
very
different
demanding.
roles. So, yes, thank you. So, probably the number of hours a week I spend on prosecuting or, varies between 10 and 20, sometimes as much as 25, if,
Depending. Mhm.
and at the same time, I do, minimum 35 hours of community development stuff because,
Mhm.
so it comes out to be much more than one single full-time job, like significantly more.
Mhm. And you're telling us this because?
She's just like us.
She's just like us. Yes.
I asked
What?
her- I asked her-
You asked her to.
These are
Is that
very,
because of the salary line? I saw?
they're that, but I think they're very different roles, and I think it's
Of course they are. Yeah.
it's important for the township committee to understand how Ms. De Palma spends her time.
Yeah, I think we do.
Yeah.
So,
Also, I do some legal work that is not prosecutorial too. It's a very interesting job
I think so.
because there's a lot of.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
Like going to court for
I
those.
have one question. We did a shift change with the police officers. Is that helping any kind of court appearances?
Or hurting.
It's too soon to tell.
Okay.
Just started. And so we'll see. I mean, I guess well, a downside from my perspective is that there is more of there are more.
Just say it.
Yeah.
Well, what?
Asking.
Go ahead.
There are more consecutive, there are more consecutive days when a cop is off.
Mhm. Yeah.
And sometimes that's a problem.
All right, you'll figure it out.
Because of how the schedule rotates,
Right.
Yeah.
they may be off multiple Thursdays or
Right.
now Wednesdays in a row,
Right.
where they otherwise, may have it. But the flip side of that is we had officers who may not have worked Thursdays at all, and so now there's an opportunity for them to work Thursdays. And when they issue tickets, generally they will issue the court date on a day that they're working. At least that's the idea, right, Mr. Palmer?
That's theoretical.
That's theoretical, but yes, that's the
But-
idea.
but, but it really just started, so I don't know.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
I do have one other, so the reason I asked, I'm sorry, I had to run out because one of the HPC people came here instead of going on Zoom, so they have a meeting tonight. With the in-court, if you go back to in-court, and if we have these situations where the federal ICE agents are coming into public buildings and stuff, do we have a protocol? I mean, that's really maybe a question for the court administrator, but
So
Can ask him Monday.
Yes.
you can't bar anybody from the court. And we now, and with some regularity, we have in our session. And they have the right to be in our session. We don't know who they are or why they're there, but it's a public court session. So, and now the judge makes clear that, you know, they are there as a member of public. If they are there in any kind of official capacity, they have to identify themselves. But, you know, hopefully we won't get there. We had somebody a few years ago.
So we'll see, is the answer.
See.
Okay. All right. That's all for community development and prosecutor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bring it back.
Mr. DeLuca doesn't have any more questions.
I'll mail them to you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he knows how to reach you.
With a check.
Yeah, I'll drop them off with a
Mail a
hard
check.
copy.
Clerk's office, Ms. Fritzen, you want to come up front and center?
What's next?
Okay.
Okay, you're choking.
chop
Drink
it up.
water.
All right.
Have some more chocolate.
Lord. Okay. I'm gonna rein this in. Good evening, Ms. Fritzen. Why don't you tell us a little your goals for 2025 and/or your achievements? You don't have to go through every one because we've had this, so just
yeah.
highlight the ones you want to highlight.
I do, but I first want to go over just a few things on the mission statement, especially since we have a new township committee member. And, you know, some of the things that it's a responsibility of the clerk's office and the township clerk by law, statutory, that we have to achieve. And secretary to the municipal corporation, secretary to the governing body, chief administrative officers, officer to all elections. The township clerk is responsible for running all of the elections in the township, primary, general, and any extra. The chief registrar of all voters, administrative officer, records coordinator, certifying officer, and the one that I think is most important, and I've stressed through my years here, is public relations, and the fact that the township clerk's office by far, I think, is the first office in a municipality where a new resident comes, somebody comes who doesn't in particular know which department would help them best. And I think that myself, my staff, we take great pride in, you know, welcoming new residents, directing them and assisting them. So I just, you know, wanted to go over that first. I think that is a strong suit of the department. And we look forward to continuing that. So, Mayor, I'm going to do the 2024 achievements first. And again, you have them all, and I'm just going to highlight a few of them. And, you know, we've really progressed in the last year as far as all of our permits, applications, licenses, and so forth that are now all online. And we transition the documents from E-code, and the township clerk's office has transitioned to E-code as a depository of our resolutions, our ordinances, our agendas, and more. We also want to go over nearly all the applications are online. We did the residential bulletin, which the deputy township clerk worked in conjunction with our summer intern, and we put out a pretty good residential brochure for people that was lacking. We didn't have one, and I think that that would be another example of trying to serve new residents that come into town and make them feel welcome. So again, all the parking now can be done online. Parking, jitney, the overnight parking lots, the merchants. And new this term was the jitney passes. You could actually get your jitney pass, print it out at home and have it and not have to come to the office. So, you know, kudos to my staff, very progressive, have done great work this year. And, you know, I'm proud of the department. We successfully administered a primary election in June. We successfully administered a November election, which was a presidential election. And, you know, that's huge. We had a huge amount of voters in Maplewood. And the day went error-free. It really went error-free. We've done a lot of licensing, the cafes, the canning, the sidewalk retail sales, taxi and limousine permits, all the ABC permits for both the annual and the social affair. There's a lot of permits that the clerk's office handles that maybe the residents may not all be aware of, you know, dumpster permits. I mean, those are just things that you don't think of, but the Office of the Township Clerk takes care of a lot of permits, including the ones I just listed. So we have updates on the codification and the open public records request. We are handling over 1,000 a year, and that's a tremendous number. And if you don't handle them correctly and in a timely fashion, you know, that's on the township and certainly on the township clerk. So we've really been able to administer that with people going online to file an open public records request. We also have the registrar in the office who handles, you know, over 150 marriage licenses, certified copies. This is in total, amendments, corrections, death certificates. So I'm going to stop there and now I'm going to go to our goals for 2025. So I'm not going to read them all. You have them in front of you. Probably had a chance to look at them. But again, reviewing applications to see what can be further streamlined. We want to scan more of our old resolutions and ordinances, and the long-term goal is to have all past ordinances and resolutions available through the E-code eventually. Improve communications with the public, post more things on the website, and convert some of our pages into sub-pages to make it easier to find answers, especially for those who Google information. And in addition, we're going to work with the new public information officer to get our information out further. Again, I talked about the ordinances and resolutions. We want to continue to serve the residents of the township, serving the residents with more remote applications and forms, and providing more online. Document scanning, coordinating the posting of all materials that relate to township committee meetings, the backup, and the outcome of your particular meetings, including meetings like tonight. And we do an event management program, township clerk and the office. We host the event planning meetings on a regular basis to see that the township sponsored or events that come in also remotely online, asking for organizational events. We have a planning meeting for virtually anything that has over 150 people at it. So it's not all mundane. It sounds like it is, but you know, we coordinate special events as well. And we've had some successful events that the clerk's office runs. And those would be the employee appreciation function every September. We have a volunteer appreciation dinner and recognition program. We have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Veterans Day program every year. We have over 20 years on that. Your reorganization meeting, try, to make that special. The Memorial Day Parade and Ceremony, and any other pop-up special events that the Township Committee deems appropriate for an event during the month. And then finally, I just wanted to say that, of course, education is probably the most important thing that I rely on. And my staff attends programs, courses, classes, both within the county and the state and the Clerks Association of the State of New Jersey. And I'm a big proponent that the more they're educated, the more they know. And yeah, education is hugely important for knowing how things change in a clerk's office and keeping up to date with, everything election, for example, everything statutory regulated. And I'll now open it up to you for any comments.
Thank you very much. Can we explain the difference? I was looking at the line items between the 2024 actual of 400,000 for expenses and 471, so 71,000 more.
Which line?
Am I looking at that right? The
What line are you
totals.
It's
looking?
like she's looking at the totals.
I'm looking at the totals. Totals, not any one line. Yeah, so, but I don't really see it.
You don't see it in the lines, you mean that? line
Yeah.
increase?
I don't see it in the lines above.
In the the OE. You're dealing with actuals, right?
Yeah, I was looking at actuals
Right.
compared to budget.
Yeah, it's easier to see on.
Yeah, because postage was down.
So, I mean, it's great if you're not spending as much as was budgeted, which is fine, but we're still asking for 30,000 more.
Well, I noticed that the green fair was on the clerk's budget, which I was happy to see that because the Environmental Advisory Committee was talking about what events we can do and do we have a budget for it. So I think they'll be happy to hear that there is a $5,000 line item for that. So that was one thing that wasn't spent.
Be there.
Yeah. But that, to the mayor's point, that's 5,000. That wasn't
Yeah.
actualized.
Right.
There's some salary increase.
Yeah, I mean, it's otherwise pretty tight.
So is the question
The question.
that we're
is,
spending
just-
less
it
than what is
doesn't look
budgeted?
like in the lines that there's that big of an increase, but in the total, it seems,
There's not.
Yeah, so to go from 442 to 471, the majority
right,
of that's
but
in the salary
actual
and wage
also
line.
is actual,
Salary and wage, because we had some decreases
uh-huh.
in the requested for the special events, election expenses.
Well, we've been reining in a little bit of our special events as far as us comping people this past year, so 400 actual, am I just the only one seeing this
No, but it's in the,
O&E?
no, it's in the salary and wages. You're going from 281 to
That's what it is.
315.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's where the bulk is.
Okay. We don't,
Just so everyone knows, the total for the township committee
it's,
for 5 of us is $26,000
we're
for,
not getting a.
not each, 5.
Yeah.
Well,
And a lot of us have jobs and then some of us have 2 jobs.
How many meetings? And yeah,
I think I had 22 meetings in January. I think I did the math and it turned out to 6 cents an hour.
Don't ever do that.
6 cents? I don't know if I did my math right. I didn't have Mr. Cloget check it, but
Don't
6
ever
cents an
do the
hour.
hourly.
Well, I think it's important to mention though, because
Yeah, yeah.
our government system's not very
Are you-
inclusive for
a
people
little
who
bit?
can't afford to
Or Ms.
do it.
Engel, are you proposing that the township committee get a raise?
No, because we don't have enough
I'm-
money in our budget.
It gets a raise the same.
The two
We instituted that whatever the employees get, the township committee gets, right? Yeah, so that's been the way
Yeah.
we've been doing it. It's just
And
automatic.
times 10.
And that's been reflected, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just a system thing that it's
No, it's a
hard to be,
terrible system.
right? It's a terrible system because it's not inclusive because you have to be able to be financially afford to be able to sit
Yeah, yeah.
here.
Well, I mean, other towns pay, we could, if we decided, right?
Yeah.
We could. I just think it would be irresponsible because we don't have that much money to put towards other things.
No, I don't know that, I mean, I don't know that it'd be irresponsible. There are other, I would be irresponsible if we did it like some cities that have staff, each council person has full paid salary, staff, a car,
Yeah, that's,
low,
have
5
Fritz-
miles east of us.
yeah.
We have Ms. Fritzer.
I can't, I don't even have a computer or an iPad.
Well, it wouldn't be bad to throw in another percentage point for us and give us 7 cents an hour. Just saying. Any questions besides mine for Ms. Fritzen? Oh, I do have one before I let other people come. When was the last time we raised the fees for commuter parking permits and jitneys? It's been several years, if I
Yeah,
recollect.
I'm not sure if it's 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Three, I feel like it's more than that.
Could be even more.
It's more than that, because I was chair.
I
of the-
think it was after, I think it was right after COVID.
Yeah. I'm thinking 3 years, but
Maybe.
again.
Yeah, I
you
think
need
it's
to
5. I think it needs.
Well,
to be
as far as jitneys go, though, like, I mean, I keep talking about advocating to get less cars on the road, and I think public transportation is a way that we can decrease cars on the road. So I don't know that raising the jitney price
Right, but
would.
right now they pay $2 if they're paying at the time, and then it's nominal otherwise.
So we look at it
the
at
permit.
Engineering and Public Works and we can do that. So the policy that we tried to adopt at one point is similar to
Right.
sort of New Jersey Transit and MTA in that the fare box provides around 30 to 35% of the cost.
Right.
And that allows people to make a contribution. And it does what you're saying is that encourages people not to do a single occupant drive down to the train station. So
No place for.
we'll take a look at it because our costs have gone up and our fare hasn't gone up.
Yeah.
So we'll take a look at that. Any other questions for anybody?
Two items I'd like to note. One, under special events, you'll see there's a decrease from 60,000 to 45,000. That's because Juneteenth will be celebrated in South Orange this year,
Okay.
and they'll have the fireworks, which run us about $20,000. The other one is that last year was the last year we had funded Soma TV, and so there's not an expense for that.
Oh, I had one more question. For advertising and legal, the 25,000, is that for public notice? And what is that, what that's for? And will that go down with newspapers going away?
Isn't that mostly legal ads?
Yes, those are legal ads. Will it go down?
Oh,
It won't be free to, it depends what they do, because if one, they find a way for us to continue to advertise in print papers. Two, they could require that we advertise online, and I would expect those to charge us something. Maybe it's not as much, but maybe it's something. The greatest benefit to us would be if they allowed us to post either on say a state page or on our page, but I don't think there's much hope in that happening.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? No? Good. Okay, thank you very much. Administration, go. I think.
And thank you, Ms. Fritzen and your staff for doing such a great job. And I agree with what you said about great public safety.
Yes. Don't say that.
We gotta say we like Ms. Fritzen too.
She gets compliments all the time,
She does, right.
and she asks for them as well.
She did not ask me. Well, then I did that all on my own.
Nothing. Go to the videotape. Hi, Miss Perez. I'm good. You look lovely this evening. I like your green outfit. You guys coordinated, yeah, green
Green Day.
tie.
It's green, yeah.
Deb
Is it a
too.
green day? No.
Oh, you did coordinate.
Yeah.
Did I miss something?
I think we are coordinated, but I don't think we coordinate. This wasn't an active choice. But maybe I was inspired because I put it on after I saw her suit. So maybe I was.
There you go. Yeah, you're inspired.
Um,
Well, your wife's the one into fashion, so.
but she doesn't pick out my clothes.
Oh, okay,
Promise.
that's good. All right, so go.
Must have
I'd
bought 'em
say
that
welcome, but you've been here the whole time.
Yes.
so.
Okay, so to review 2024 accomplishments, first, I think the biggest thing is staff. We are fortunate that Ms. Perez is coming up on her 6th month here.
6 months.
Yes,
Wow. Time
yes,
flies,
time
right?
flies. Yes, she thinks so too. And so, we've been able to accomplish a lot in the last 6 months. We've been able to start to get to things that administration and myself hadn't been able to get to before. So we're thankful for her. The other compliments to that are we hired a new PIO last year, and so that's taken some of the work off of our plates, but also dramatically improved the quality of the content and the frequency of the content that we're putting out. And that's with a staff person that is just working with us 15 hours a week, right? So just in those 15 hours, they're really able to reshape what we're doing with our public information news output. And so we're very excited about what that looks like this coming year. And then we also hired a new arts and culture manager just this month. We saw them at their new very big event this past weekend at Lunar Fest, and so we're excited for the work that they're able to do. And again, that's another opportunity for the work to be done better, but also for it to free us up to do more. So we're really excited about where we are staffing wise. And then in our department, we also have a human resources manager who does a tremendous job. So we're fortunate to have her. In terms of our 2024 accomplishments, I mentioned the hiring of a PIO. We had successfully negotiated a few of our collective bargaining agreements and have a few more to go. That takes a lot of time, and the big one was in transferring or moving the police department to a 12-hour shift, which we're looking forward to a more even distribution of officers throughout the week and throughout the day. And that was, not an easy thing to do because of the impact that it has on officers. So we accomplished that this year. In 2024, we also moved to from the state health benefits plan for insurance coverage for all of our employees to a health insurance fund, which operates like our joint insurance fund on the property casualty side. And that has been very successful so far. It's been a really seamless transition. And I sit on the board as well for the executive committee of the health insurance fund. So we're able to make a lot of impact for our members. We're instrumental in securing the grant for the inclusive playground, and we're working closely with engineering and community services to roll that out with the design, public input. And we're excited this year we'll be able to break ground on that. And we've been involved in, some other issues like historic preservation at the Woodland, developing the plan there and working on a redevelopment study down in Maplewood Village. And then I'll let Ms. Perez review the arts and culture accomplishments for last year.
So for 2024, Arts and Culture is very busy. As you can see, they collaborated with various organizations and community leaders to pull off such wonderful events like Lunar Fest, Diwali Fest, Holi Fest, Habibi Fest, a lot of cultural based events. The Soma Middle Eastern and Muslim community introduced their annual Ramadan moonlighting event last year. We hosted the second annual MAPSO Follies in November, drawing over 400 attendees, which was a beautiful event. We successfully organized six exhibitions at the 1978 Arts Center. We produced and hosted the Summer Gazebo series, celebrated Black History Month with a successful art exhibition and multiple jazz concerts, inspiring the Jazz at the Gallery program. We redesigned the MAPSO art registry. We also held successful Women's History Month events, exhibiting the embellished art art exhibit and the Chuckle Path comedy event. We also organized in the Pride Month activities, including fluid form, art exhibition, Mapso Lavender graduation, and the Queer Youth Prom. And for the income that we generated last year for the Woodland, 99,000 to 8325. For the Bergdorf, 33,927.25. And we had special event sales at 1,855.
Are we going to look at the fees for the Woodland and our other facilities this year?
We're actually reviewing them as we speak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think maybe.
Yep.
Because that's just like 2 doors at the Woodland, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're expensive.
By the time we
Okay,
buy them, that'll be more.
For administration goals for 2025, we have a few collective bargaining agreements to negotiate. We are looking to revise our employee handbook, which seems like hopefully a simple thing, but that it will be very, very involved as it hasn't been done in a little over 4 years. And we have a lot of new policies to include in that. We are working closely with the compliance for the next round of affordable housing. And so, part of that will be the 100% affordable project that we're working on. And then there are just, other things required for compliance with the fourth round numbers and the fourth round reporting that is required of us. We are working now on the historic preservation element of the master plan, and we're just kicking that off. And then we'll be able to do some small things like double-sided printing, which is on here, but one of those green initiatives we want to see. And we expect, Ms. Perez and I, that as we have more opportunity with the staff that are taking on some of the load that we had carried, to have more direct engagement and proactive managerial engagement with our department heads and our staff, and also more direct engagement with the public. And so that's will be a focus of both of ours throughout this year.
And for the arts and culture goals for this year, we want to expand the programming to develop engaging culture and artistic events that celebrate diversity and inclusion. We want to maintain the 1978 nonprofit to continue hosting program events and exhibitions at our gallery space, to utilize funds to improve the gallery and install a permanent exhibition infrastructure, a hanging system for instead of having to paint every year, every time there's a different exhibition going on. We want to support events and programs of local community partners and art organizations to achieve community-wide goals. And we want to create a new signature Maplewood community event for all to share. We'll see with our new Andrea, a new arts manager. She has some pretty good ideas. And we want to increase culture and heritage programming to incorporate events such as the Day of the Dead. Interesting one.
So can I go back to the 1978 hanging system? Have we kind of explored that in terms of cost and infrastructure requirements to do something like that?
Thing that Andrea is looking into right now, because we just found out about the Friends of 1978 and what it goes to fund. So anybody who uses the the exhibition gallery has to give 20% of their event sales and donate it to the Friends of 1978, which in turn comes back to arts and culture, to the gallery.
Where is that written?
I never heard of this before.
It's on, she explained this to me today.
Who's the he, she?
Andrea, our arts and culture manager, she's explained it. We're reviewing the agreement for the 1978 and how it's utilized, and that's part of it.
No.
We'll look into it.
You look into that. That is not.
PC.
So there was a nonprofit that ran it, and then a few years back, actually just before, it must have been 2020, because that's when it was just before the pandemic happened. Anyway, the town runs it. No one should be getting any percentage of anything.
No.
I've never heard of that.
Right.
Okay, they're
It
gonna
comes
look at it.
back to town, that's
That doesn't matter. It should
Well,
never go away.
We'll look into it. We'll give you a report. What I do know is that with the frequency that we rotate exhibits through there, it's a lot of wear and tear on those walls. So to bring it back to where she started on is looking for a system where every time we're not putting holes in the wall, patching, repainting
yeah.
ever it's done. It would be good to see something that was, didn't require such an upkeep.
100%. Other former art managers, culture managers have mentioned that as well. It's just a lot of upkeep in order to change out. Having a system is a good idea.
Something else on that?
I forgot what my other thing is. It may or may not come back to me. It may have not been that important, so it's okay. Thank you, Mayor.
We all know how that feels.
The,
Yes.
if I could
Yeah.
run down some of my lines. So fortunately, administrations, we have some money in this budget that may not be used and gets transferred out throughout the year. And so if you look at the 2024 appropriation line, that's after any transfers that are made during the year. So
Could you
this-
say that again? Because it kind of.
Yeah, yeah. If you look at the 2024 appropriation line, this goes for any department, that includes any transfers that are made in the last 2 months of the year. So for
Oh, okay.
example, the salary adjustment line where this year we're requesting $20,000. We'd received $20,000 last year, but it was transferred out to cover other expenses. We're in other departments. So we're requesting it again this year. It has provided useful in previous years. And if we don't need it, it could provide useful to other departments. Under administrative and executive OE, there are lines there for Community Coalition on Race, Springfield Avenue Partnership, Maplewood Village Alliance, and YouthNet. They all have the same requests that they did last year, and they will explain those further next Monday. And other areas of note, we do expect some change under the IT lines. We met with IT, our IT consultant in October. They'll be recommending some upgrades and are providing some budgets for that, some estimates for that. So the IT line may change a little bit. It's a big line just because of the amount that we have to pay for protections, backups, firewalls. Our service contract is actually a pretty low number compared to all the software and backups and hardware that we pay to keep up every year. And we have email in the cloud. And so all that is under that software line, which is pretty big. Under township attorney, we have a higher line there than we have in previous years as we continue to negotiate for some of our pilots. And I know under seed, we have some lines. These are always of interest to the township committee for redevelopment planners. We have some for master plan expenses. We had budgeted that last year, but not used it because we were fortunate enough to receive a grant for the woodland preservation plan. And now this year we have another grant for the historic element of the but we have that money available should we need to fund anything for the master plan implementation. And then this is the last line on that page is a $50,000 line for affordable housing rehabilitation contribution. So that was discussed as a to cover the expense for housing rehab that is required of the fourth round for affordable housing, and is something that we have a number that we need to reach, but two, we have an interest in providing this rehabilitation funds for residents. And so this will be a contribution from the current fund to the Affordable Housing Trust that we then use to pay out of the trust for those programs. And doing it that way is beneficial for us because then we don't have to spend all of that money this year. And so it provides us some flexibility contributing to the trust and then using it from the trust.
So in the past, we used to do it through a capital.
A capital line. Yeah, Mr. Kaloje and I discussed that and he
Okay.
talked to our.
Okay, as long as you did, that's fine.
About it, yeah. Yeah. If there's an opportunity there to do that, we may.
The line, whatever that is, cultural programming. We just said that in the clerk's budget that we don't have Juneteenth here this year, so, but you've accounted for based on what was spent in 2024. It looks like you accounted for an increase that may not be necessary, correct?
So the only thing in the clerk's budget is the fireworks for Juneteenth. So if we did anything else around Juneteenth, it would be charged to this line. And the line is somewhat of a catch-all for all programs throughout the year. If you're looking for.
Okay, but I'm just saying if it,
Mhm.
just take a look at what we spent on Juneteenth, separate and apart from the 15,000 for fireworks.
Mhm.
And then maybe
Okay.
deduct that, bring that down a little.
Yeah, if we plan to not have any
Also, historic preservation, where is the legal fees for all these demolition reviews coming from?
Not to that line. So we've charged the court reporter to that line, but otherwise if we have any legal expenses associated with it, they get charged to
They get
So-
charged to what?
our regular legal line.
So that's just if they're using our municipal attorney.
That's right.
Yeah. So they are going to be coming Monday night, the Historic Preservation Commission, to make a presentation, correct? On their budget request?
They will be, yes.
Yeah. So for two things, just structurally, we haven't put them in the agenda, so they're not on the agenda.
Yes.
Okay, so that has, because we had planned to have them come tonight because they're in the administration's agenda, but there's a hearing tonight on a demolition review, so they couldn't come tonight. So they're coming Monday. So they have a specific request that we haven't seen yet because we haven't gotten that Monday night package for services. So we'll hear that Monday night. And that would be in
I
addition
assume
to
that would
this,
be legal and historic preservation architect or something, or,
consultant planner, yeah.
yeah. Okay, do
We
you
can-
want to
I think
put
the
them
first
in
thing-
at 6?
What's that? I think the first thing we would do there is to see if depending on what we expect those expenses to be this year, see if we can absorb them in any other lines. But just because it gives us the greatest amount of flexibility, but yes, we can,
Should we
But-
also
A lot of
talk
ways.
about, and whether or not we can, for a demolition permit, to have the applicant absorb some costs?
Well, I don't think we would do that Monday night.
No, not
Yeah.
Monday night. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that.
I want it to be thought about, so
Um,
we can think about it.
They're also going to be asking for authorization to go for a CLG grant too that night.
So the grant that they're going for a new element, isn't that going to cover consultant fees?
I think-
Yes,
But I think,
that's already, they received that grant.
yeah.
How much was that for?
15,000, I think.
so I know
No.
what we're talking about. Is this the historic element of the master
Yes.
plan? That was less than 40,000, or maybe around $40,000.
And we awarded we awarded the contract at the
That's
last
right.
meeting.
Right. So
That's right.
that includes planning services, right?
Just for the historic.
Just for
element
the
of master
historic
plan.
element.
So the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
contract is with Barton Ross, a planner, and
Right.
yes, it is,
think
that will
what
be
they-
all the planning services needed for the historic element of the master plan.
I think what they are looking for is assistance on designating and having more of that for, yeah, as opposed to just the historic.
Right, which is different than the new CLG grant, which is to do another survey of a portion of Maplewood, see if it qualifies. They do district surveys,
districts, yeah.
district surveys.
Like having a historic district. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Got it. Thank you for clarifying all of that.
So I have just a question on the affordable housing. So the attorney we're going to be taking out of the trust fund. The planner is also coming out of the trust fund?
So you don't see those expenses in my budget.
Okay, are we going to see them somewhere? I guess we see them because we approved the contracts with them.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, you typically, no, you wouldn't see them otherwise. I mean, they're included in the audit, but
Right.
they are funded outside of tax levy.
Anybody else?
I just, go back to the seed. So we have redevelopment attorney, $5,000. If, and it's likely we're going to move ahead on the movie theater redevelopment this year. Do you think that's sufficient to cover our costs for that?
Right now, for an attorney, yes.
Okay.
Well, last year we spent a little more than $5,000.
Right, we didn't have, this is going to be a pretty complicated situation because we have property there and all that. So just think about
You
it.
could take another look.
I mean, it doesn't hurt and go somewhere else, you know?
Like to the township committee salaries.
I was going to say we're saving money on double-sided copies now,
That's
helping
right.
the
Yeah,
earth
there
and
you
saving
go.
some
That's
money.
another percentage to salary.
Hey, we talked
Had a
about
smiley
that, we
face
talked
next
about that at our Sustainable Maplewood, and Ms. Perez made it happen, so
There
thank
you
you.
go. I can't believe we haven't been doing it.
No, it's been hit or miss, now I think it's
Yeah.
becoming a policy.
So I have something to bring up tonight as we look at our budget for the year. And I think this is the right place to bring it up.
Cryptic.
And you all can tell me otherwise. So this is something that municipalities are dealing with right now across the state, especially suburban communities like ours with aging infrastructure. What is that? It's this situation when there is a displacement, a mass displacement that occurs of residents due to action by the municipality, action that needed to be taken by the municipality. I'm not talking about acts of God like floods or storms or that kind of thing where you have your own insurance, you do or you don't, and so on and so forth. I'm talking about, having to go in because of fire safety violations or because of structural issues and declaring a building uninhabitable. And those folks have to move out immediately. They're displaced. And the law of New Jersey, we may have never dealt with this before, right? But again, because we're getting more and more renters, a lot of our new renters are going into the newer buildings, of course, but we have aging buildings with renters, and many of them are of middle or lower income households, right? So the law in New Jersey requires the municipality to assist those displaced residents if the action was by the municipality. And then the municipality can go after the owner of the property to become reimbursed. So I just want to, do we have such an assistance fund? Or if we were to like put some money aside, like rainy day money for a situation like that, where would it go? Who would administer it?
What about the, what do you call it? That fund where we have extra money?
Maplewood Cares,
No.
you had referenced
No,
earlier.
because that's just
No,
donations.
I just mean the, what's it called?
The surplus, the
CFO.
rainy day money?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not, we couldn't use surplus in the
Township
current year
committee.
budget. I mean, I think if it's an exceptional cost, Joe will be getting ready to answer here, but if it's an exceptional cost, we could incur it this year and just realize it as a deferred charge to be raised in future years. And hopefully at that point, we would have recoup those expenses from whoever was ultimately responsible. Because we wouldn't want it to be budget, we wouldn't want it to have a budget impact. Now, thankfully, we have enough fund balance to where
That's
we
what I
can
meant.
absorb those
Fund
things
balance.
in a year, but we can absorb them only from a cash flow perspective. We can't appropriate that money in the middle of the year for that intent. But what would end up happening is we would run a deficit that would have to be funded in future year budgets.
Yeah.
I would think that is that the most realistic outcome there, do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I think that would be, Mr. Murray, I think that would be the simplest approach. I don't know how big a dollar amount we're talking about, Committeeman, but we do have the ability, after we adopt the budget, to pass an emergency appropriation, which says that we did not adequately fund something because we didn't anticipate having to fund it. That would go in, and then as Mr. Worry said, it becomes a deferred charge, and we're basically promising that we will raise it in the tax levy the following year. To which we would then be able to use fund balance to sort of offset it. And so that would be the mechanism. But if we know that we're going to be doing something, it would be far more fiscally prudent to budget something for it if we know that this is going to happen.
Well, I don't know if this is going to happen, but I do think we need to plan for it. I mean, I'm working with 5 or 6 municipalities right now in my other capacity who are in a public relations disaster because they're dealing with this. And they sort of walked away from it and they were like, go after the landlord, go after the property owner, And then they came to DCA for money and DCA was like, whoop. And then the lawyers got involved and they imposed the law on those municipalities. And those municipalities are like, oh, wow, we never planned for something like this. So it made me think about us. So I'm just bringing it up. I think it's a prudent thing to think about.
What kinds of things are you talking about that the township might do that would require people to vacate?
Housing.
Housing.
How, you got to put them up in house.
Yeah, I mean, it's a temporary assistance thing for a little
Yeah.
bit. You're not like reestablishing
Right.
them or buying them a house, but you can't just walk away and say, call the Red Cross.
Oh, no, you're saying about, like, if the house that they're in is suddenly uninhabitable
Because of,
because of flooding or,
No, he's saying if it's
No.
condemned, if the building department
we-
goes in and says you can't live here anymore
Right.
because your house is going to fall down or because
Okay.
it's not
Right.
safe, because your landlord's not upkeeping, because the elevator's broken,
Right.
the fire
Thank you.
code, there's like a whole
Yeah.
lot of.
Well, let's say we go in and do a rental registration and inspection.
that's what I'm saying. Does this go
And-
back
yeah.
to doing a better job of?
So we do have, or we used to put money in the budget for private resident repairs, like people who don't cut their grass and stuff like that. Is that still in the DPW budget?
Yes.
Yeah, it's
those
like a
are-
little amount. And then we go after them, we either put a lien on and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then that money ends up coming back into that same budget line. So
Right.
we don't actually see much of that
Right.
cost impact.
Right.
But there could be a similar allocation where you just
Right.
put X amount of dollars into some kind of emergency fund.
Yeah.
And then you spend it if you have to. If not, at the end of the year, it just goes into fund balance.
Yeah.
Right?
What I would have trouble wrapping my head around though is like, what does that number look like? You know, and only because it's so unknown. I'd hate to have money that either we put in, you have
Yeah,
some
that
vehicle annually that we just never use and someone's,
Right.
you know,
Right.
that's the first thing that might get cut one year. Or we put in some kind of a trust and it sits there with no use and doesn't
Right.
benefit other municipal uses. I think we should have an approach because I wasn't aware of this requirement. And I'm interested to know more about it, right? So that should this happen, like we know what we're going to do. We've had the conversation with the Township Committee and with Mr. Kaloje and I, and we know what our approach would be, and we're not left kind of flat-footed there.
Mr. Daffis, do you have any idea of what other towns are?
I can get some information and
Yeah,
come
that would
back.
be
It's
helpful.
also the duration. I mean, what
Right.
period of time do you have to put someone up?
Yeah.
Because even after a fire, Red Cross is not a permanent solution.
No, it's only 2 weeks.
Well, you have spare bedrooms, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's interesting. It certainly would have a budget impact, so I'd want to understand more. Yeah.
Sure.
But presumably, if you put if you put a landlord on notice that we're making their building uninhabitable, that they have a certain amount of time to fix it to bring the people back.
Right, but
If not,
sometimes,
then you go after them for
yeah.
this. But we'd have to have our lawyer look at it, make sure we're on strong
Yeah.
legal standing before we take any.
Yeah, because what happens with some landlords is that, first of all, it's hard to get to the landlord. They're LLC, spider webs of LLCs, and you can never get to the actual owner. Or the owner says, I'm not going to go to court and I'm not going to pay the fine, and good luck.
We do have some people who live in their home and rent out like an apartment, and they don't really have the resources to fix stuff up.
Right,
That's another issue.
right.
I wonder if there's something like the Affordable Housing Trust, if there's something there. I don't know, I guess that gets to be messy because that money is set aside for
Yeah.
COA stuff, yeah.
I'll look into it more and come back with more information. Thank you all.
Any other questions?
I was just curious, Mr. Weary, what your community engagement ideas were, to boost interactions with the Department of Administration and community and the public. Is that like meetings regarding like the accessible playground or just other sort of things that you had in mind?
So I think this is my idea. I think we do a pretty good job when we have prescribed moments of interaction when it's necessary. Like, so when we did those community engagement sessions around the all access playground, I think that went really, really well. And, but no, so that's not, my idea was a little different. I think that I always enjoy talking to residents, and I feel like the interaction I have with residents make me better at my job. And I think that, we have residents who seek me out for help, and I think that I'm able to help them. And so I think the more opportunity I have to interact directly with them, and I would think it's in a more informal setting, would benefit me in my position, and I would hope would benefit the residents in the type of service that they're getting. And I think that's true for all of our department heads, right? I think that some of our department heads have a greater ability, like our community services director has a greater ability to get right out there. I would say that our DPW superintendent and director of public works and engineer probably don't, right? And so I think we should be looking for opportunities for not just myself, but also department heads who wouldn't normally have that interaction to have it. I don't think it's, and I think that, there's some times when it will be maybe formally prescribed, but I would hope that a lot of it is informal and just people know who we are and we have an opportunity to know who they are.
I love it.
Great.
I think it would be great for more transparency in our town. And I know a lot of these meetings used to be in person, I understand. And it's certainly very productive and efficient to have them on Zoom. But when the public comes, you do miss that one-on-one interaction and some of the relationships. So I love
Yeah.
it.
And it would be good to have that interaction before they have to come to my office because something has impacted them so greatly that, it's pushed them to that. And so that's the hope.
Yeah.
It
I'll
just- I'm sorry.
I was just going to give, I've noticed you out there in the community and going to events and stuff, which has been nice to see because I don't know that I've seen other administrators be part of the community.
Yeah.
So it's been nice. And me too, Ms. Perez, both of you. So it's been nice.
I was going to say that one of the things we might want to put on sort of a back burner for 2025 is figuring out how to make some of our other facilities capable of doing hybrid meetings. Because right now, this is the only room that we can do a hybrid meeting.
Yeah.
And so having some other, either portable equipment that we could go or, somewhere, because that will allow us to
We've
do
been
that.
talking about that for planning board because there's a desire from some members of the planning board
To
to be back
return.
in person.
Yeah.
But also the hybrid helps with viewing the documents, the plans.
Yeah.
I think the hybrid, I think virtual makes it more inclusive too, because it gives people the chance who wouldn't be able to come in person to be able to come. Like I would never have been able to run for office if things weren't virtual.
Right.
I wouldn't be able to go to my committee meetings. So I just want to bring that part up. I think it makes it
Yeah,
inclusive
it
to be able
does
to
make
have
it
people.
much easier.
Yeah, absolutely. But the hybrid does offer the opportunity to have both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the hybrid. here-
Hybrid doesn't work so well when you're not in the room though. If you're the one virtual and everyone else is in the room, hybrid is not as successful.
Yeah.
I think the limitation we have with this room
Staffing.
is there's a lot of technology here. And so it takes staff from
Yeah, that's
administration and
what-
from the clerks to run this, and trying to figure out how that would work with some other boards with the technology we have here. Maybe too much. So finding a lower like a less of an
Complicated.
intensive, complicated
Yeah.
solution would benefit those boards. Yeah.
You
I don't
mean,
know if we've ever looked into like having a partnership or arrangement with the co-working space that we have in Maplewood that has a lot of technology, if they would be interested in being a community partner and helping us do hybrid meetings.
you mean Deputy Clerk Allah doesn't want to work every single night in our other facilities to do this?
I can guarantee he does not.
No.
I can guarantee he doesn't.
Thanks to him, we have what we have here.
So yeah, that's what, so for planning board, we're talking a little bit about whether or not there's somebody, because it would require a staff person to be here. So there's expenses involved, so back burner, as Mr. DeLuca said. Anything else from anyone? Anyone? Bueller? Okay.
Anyone online?
Oh, is there anyone
We
online?
do have 2 people joining us online.
That's great.
So if anybody online would like to speak in public portion, please raise your hand now.
Township employees, no.
This is kind of a person. I see no hands, Mayor.
Great. I'd had a motion to adjourn till Monday.
So moved.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Oh,
gonna vote?
sorry, when are we going to get the
gotta vote,
packet for
sorry.
Monday?
Not in any hurry whatsoever.
To adjourn.
Huh?
I move that we adjourn.
Oh, you're voting.
Your vote?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I thought I moved already.
Yes.
Ms. Engel.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Yes. Mayor Adams.
Yes, let's go.